It's the midweek installment. Thank you for making the time to join us right here on the AM show Wednesday, and we're going to have a wunderbar time, as the Germans will say. Wonderful time. Well, coming up this morning on the show, of course, I'll serve you the news up next, and for the newspaper review, we have a very special person joining us, the United Nations Eminent Peace Ambassador to Ghana and Country Director, International Association of World Peace Advocates, Ghana chapter, in the person of Dr. Samuel Ben Owusu. He is our guest this morning. Right after which, we'll be serving you sports as usual with Muftar Nabila Abdullahi. And then we segue into the big stories. Now, initial government debt is said to have been restructured by 259 billion cedis. But guess what? Governments had to scale it down to 137 billion cedis as the debt owed. Now, unsuccessful with this under the DDEP, government eventually succeeded with a sum of 87 billion cedis under this program, leading to the bailout. But now government is seeking to further restructure the shortfall in the DDEP, and that's the difference between 137 and 87 billion cedis, some 50 billion cedis, odd cedis. Now, there is a pushback from banks who say they have had enough, and from pension bondholders who say they should be excluded. Otherwise, they will start picketing the Ministry of Finance anew. But we ask this morning, what's the way forward? We'll be discussing that on the show this morning. But then we talk a bit of politics in our second conversation. Recent information or a survey by Global Info Analytics indicates no candidate from the MPP is going to get a 50+1 vote in the governing New Patriotic Party's flag bearership race after Alan Kwadwo Twamaten pulled out. Now, is the party headed for a runoff in November, and to whose advantage, we asked? Where are the Alan supporters and voters, and where are they likely to swing among the two leading candidates, towards Dr. Bawumia or towards Kennedy Agyapong? Well, we'll be discussing that. Also on the beat, we host Espat Pharmacy on their latest product. You want to stay and get to know about that. And we'll also talk about the Nkrumah Mandela Lectureship Conference, the Nkrumah Mandela Lectureship Conference. The theme is the Osajifo and the Madiba, Global Africa in Search of Transformational Leadership in the 21st Century. All of that lined up for you this morning, for you. So stick and stay. Let's do this for God and country. Up next, the news. We're grateful you stayed with us. Time now for the news, and in our first story, some 68 non-citizens and 211 persons identified as minors have been apprehended across various districts in the Ashanti region for attempting to participate in the ongoing limited voters registration exercise. The non-Ghanaians were arrested after officials interrogated them about their nationality, while the minors were identified after further scrutiny by Electoral Commission officials. The Ashanti Regional Director of the Electoral Commission, Benjamin Banobio, says there are measures to identify ineligible persons attempting to disrupt a smooth registration exercise. Nanabuachi Adam has the rest of the story.
After day 7 of the limited voters registration exercise across the country, the Ashanti region has recorded 370 challenges at various districts. Though the Electoral Commission has put in place measures to ensure a transparent registration process, it is still faced with the challenge of non-citizens and minors attempting to register. Ashanti Regional EC Director Benjamin Banobio says the Commission has apprehended 68 non-citizens and 211 minors who tried to engage in the registration exercise.
We have gotten a total of 370 challenge cases. 211 were challenged because they said they were underage. 68 non-citizen, 90 non-resident, and one person was challenged as being on sound mind. And I understand some people who have been given out to the police on these issues.
Mr. Banobio says the Commission is resolute in ensuring suspected ineligible applicants are challenged for a smooth process.
You see, we have put in place some measures so that the process will be smooth, will be peaceful, and then people can also come out to challenge those they deem to be unqualified. When somebody comes to the center to register, we have the political party agents there, we have our own officials there, we have people who are also coming to register. You see, anyone who is qualified to be registered as a voter, it is not somebody who has registered, who is qualified to be registered as a voter, can object to the registration of any person. I mean, can challenge, let me say, that's the right, can challenge the registration of any person he or she deems to be unqualified, either the person is a non-Ghanaian, a non-citizen, or he doesn't stay in the electorate area that he claims to be, or he's underage, and things like that. This is the process. All that you need to do is to approach the registration officer and ask that you need a challenge form, which shall be issued to you, and then you can put in your challenge.
Meanwhile, the Ashanti region has so far registered over 36,300 applicants.
Now, issues of non-Ghanaians and minors participating in the ongoing limited voters registration exercise are rampant in the Ashanti region, but the EC says it remains committed in ensuring that such issues do not repeat in the coming days. For Joy News, my name is Nana Boachi Dankwayadom, Kumasi.
Now, economic activities on the Bulenge-Katwa-Yala Road has ground to a halt following the destruction of the road after heavy rains in the area. Portions of the road, Yanyoiri Road, also have been overtaken by flash waters for days, thereby cutting prospective registrants from having access to the Wa East district capital at Funsi. Joy News Upper West Regional Correspondent Rafiq Salam reports that the Member of Parliament for the area, Dr. Godfrey Seidu Jassau, has to truncate his monitoring of the EC registration exercise in the district after bumping into the flash floods.
The Wa East district, apart from being one of the poorest districts in the Upper West region, has arguably the worst roads in the region. Despite its poor tack, it competes with its eastern neighbors in the Sisala East and West for the title of the breadbasket of the region. Having access to its district capital at Fancy is one of the challenges faced by the people, irrespective of where one resides in the district. Using the Wabuleng route is the worst and gives commuters nightmares.
This bad road nature of this area, we can't communicate between community to community, even accidents here and there. Night, for instance, you can't move. As you can imagine, Ghana Police Office, yesterday they were from Upper East coming. They managed to cross between Yala and Kulun River, but here they came by mistake. They put their lorry inside. And they are here. They can go to work. Can you imagine? We are therefore calling on government and then the benevolent people to come to our aid.
With the limited voter registration ongoing in the district, several prospective registrants have been cut off due to the bad nature of the road. The Wa East district office, after 7 days of the limited voter registration, has only been able to register 261 prospective voters. Most of the times, the chairs are empty and the registration officers are always on a virtual holiday. The Wa East Member of Parliament, Dr. Godfrey Seidu Jassau, who is in the constituency following recess by Parliament, can't have access to some parts of the constituency as a result of the deplorable roads in the constituency. He even has to truncate his monitoring visit to the EC district office at Fonsi after he bumped into these flash waters that has covered a quarter of a kilometer of the road. The depth of the water is about 4.5 feet.
You can see the situation we found ourselves in. I think it's a very, very big constraint to us in accessibility but also to the exercise of registering new voters. You know the Wa East case is a unique one. Our capital is located in Fonsi, and accessing Fonsi, the district capital, is a very, very, very difficult, tortuous process. We have a road from Wa through Bulenge, through Yala to Fonsi, but as you can see, in our effort to get to the registration center in Fonsi, we are unable to, because the road has been cut off by the rivers here. And so that is the experience. We had to go through series of cut-off, managed to even get to this one. But at this stage, our journey has to be truncated.
The safest means of transport at this point is the canoe, and I decided to jump on one of them to get to the other side of the road.
Make no mistake, I'm not on a fishing expedition, but just a transport for me to move from one end of the road to the other. And the fee involved is 30 Ghana cedis. That's the trouble people in this enclave go through on daily basis in order to move from one end of the road to the other.
There are two canoes strategically placed to ferry commuters and their goods from one end to the other. This motorist, although he has been ferried successfully, he is visibly angered about government's failure to fix the road.
We have been voting, but we have never gotten any benefit from it. Look at the road. I just had a flat tire in the water.
Dr. Jessau used the opportunity to call on the government and the EC to consider opening up another registration center in the constituency.
Now you see that this is the main road that links to the center. There's another road that has to go through different districts. Nadoli district, the Dafiema Buse district, before you can then go to Fonsi. Now that is that's the other route that we have to go back.
So you are talking about 120 kilometers, because from Logo going all the way to Fonsi is about 120
kilometers. Yes, 100. People have to then apply 120 kilometers to be able to
between
access
two municipalities and two districts before you reach
before you can reach our district capital to be able to reach. So the choice of district capital to locate this registration is a huge constraint for particular cases such as ours. And so I like to, you have seen it, it's demonstrated. I like to use this opportunity to call on government and the Electoral Commission for that matter to consider opening an additional registration center for the Wa East district. Otherwise, most eligible voters cannot get to the capital to be able to register to become voters.
We were actually not on a fishing expedition. Our motive first was to move from one end of the river to the other. But somewhere along the line, we bumped into this fish that was caught by the operator of the canoe. And so there are a lot of fishes around here because of the bad nature of the road, which has developed into a big dam here. Reporting for Joy News, Rafik Salam, Yango Yiri.
On to our next story now. And pressure group Fix the Country movement has set in motion an unprecedented move to stage a 3-day non-stop protest at the seat of government, the Jubilee House. The organizers say the demonstration dubbed Occupy Jubilee House, scheduled to take place from Thursday to Saturday, is aimed at protesting against what they say is corruption, the high cost of living, and the mismanagement of the economy. According to the group, the protest at the seat of government is also to deepen Ghana's democracy at a time when coup d'etats have become rampant in Africa.
And help us to resist oppressors' rule with all our will and mind forevermore.
Pressure group Fix the Country movement, in its efforts to hold government accountable, has announced plans to stage a 3-day non-stop demonstration. The protest, the group says, will be at the Jubilee House for 3 days and 3 nights. According to the movement, the demonstration is also an exercise of their democratic right to put the government on its toes. Convener of the movement, Oliver Baka-Fomao, says all the necessary provisions have been made for the protest, which will start on Thursday, the 21st of September to the 23rd of September.
Ghanaians will be coming out on 21st to Saturday the 23rd. We have put in place every logistical arrangements that we can. For those who want to spend the night over, we are arranging for tents to be mounted. We are arranging for mosquito nets to be provided for people to sleep over, and mattresses as well for people to stay over. The idea is to occupy the space for 3 days continuous. So it's not open in the morning, close and go home and come.
Member of the communications team, Solomon Wise, to justify the need for the protest.
Youth unemployment has cast a shadow over our nation, robbing our youth talent of the opportunity to contribute to the development of our country. Corruption has seeped into every level of our society and eroding trust and hindering progress. We demand accountability, transparency, and an end to the impunity that has allowed corruption to flourish.
The 3 days and 3 nights protest, the group says, will be full of activities. Director of Communications for the movement, Shafar Musa, enumerated some of the activities protesters will undertake.
We expect that there will be liberation songs, a musical tribute to the spirit of liberation and change, Jama hooting at presidency, a symbolic expression of our call for accountability, speeches, inspirational addresses emphasizing the need for change and accountability in Ghana, Panlogo and Bobobo drumming, a celebration of Ghana's rich musical heritage, dancing, an opportunity for attendees to join in the cultural festivities, keep fit exercise, board games, Ludo, cards, Monopoly, or Warrior.
Oliver Bakavomawo stressed that the protest is a peaceful one and therefore warned individuals planning to cause chaos to ward off.
We are engaged in what is a peaceful demonstration. The freedom of assembly and the right to protest is constitutionally guaranteed to every citizen. This is an activity that we take on and the right we are exercising solemnly, and a reminder of where we have gotten to as a society. It is not an invitation for chaos. We will make sure that every person who is coming there will be protected.
The group mentioned that they will continue to mount pressure on the government to prioritize the welfare of all Ghanaians.
Now let's talk about greening our cities. And the first phase of the Volta Green City project has been launched at Mafi Amfoy in the Central Tone district of the Volta region. The project, named the Volta Green City, will provide decent accommodation and recreational centers to the residents and beyond, while also improving the economic activities of the area. Ivy Setoji has the rest of the story.
In a welcome address, the chief of Mafi Amfoy, Tobitra Abutaka, noted that development in the communities helps improve their lives positively, hence the urgent need for every community to have the needed development they rightly deserve.
This development must be about people and places in peaceful and comfortable environments.
He noted that the community in Mafi Amfoy has lots of land for the establishment of modern settlements like the proposed Volta Green City and industries to create jobs for the teeming youths.
May I therefore welcome you all to Mafi Amfoy. The environment is calm, the air is fresh, the people in the area are united and lovely. We have expanse of land for the establishment of modern settlements such as Volta Green City and industries to create jobs for the teeming youth.
The CEO of the project, Ni Okai Pabe, noted that the project would bring affordable housing units for the people, a complete community on its own with modern facilities and commercial enterprises that has every...
This community, we call it Volta Green City, will feature, among other things, a free economic, a free zone, a wide variety of home builders, home styles, and options at all price points. It will also have its own commercial enterprises, such as stores, restaurants, and schools, all creating a vibrant and dynamic environment.
Thomas Moore Achu Zonra is the DCE for Central Tongue.
An investor is coming to this district to do no other business than to build a city, a green, voter green city. This is the first of its kind in my district. And, I'm happy to say that myself and my MP are together in this fight. All stakeholders in this district that can say, Jack, let this thing happen, are here. So that is to show to all of us here that the project, by its name, Voter Green City, is giving green light to start.
The Member of Parliament for the area, Gabi Hotoje, said that he and the municipal chief executive will do everything within their power to make sure the project becomes a reality.
We are ready, the chiefs have pledged, and the youth, district chief executive, myself, and all others, we have pledged our support for this project. What it takes for the project to come to fruition, we are ever ready to do it. The mere look at the chiefs here, their willingness to attend the ceremony and their willingness to be at the groundbreaking event is a clear indication of the fact that the land is litigation free.
Ivy Satoji, Joy News, Murphy and Foy.
And on that joyous green note, we cap off the news. But stay with us. Up next, the news review. Welcome back on the AM show. Time now for us to get into the newspapers. Right before we do that, this segment, as always, brought to you courtesy of Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. They're offering you free prostate screening, free fertility screening if you're a woman. And here's where you can locate Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. Spintex opposite the Shell signboard here in Accra. Then there's also Kumasi Krodomabwe here behind the Angel Educational Complex. There's Takrady Anaji State Tema Community 22, Techiman Hanso and Esiama and Zema. Their call lines 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. But just the start of the news review, I have some very special guests I'm going to be introducing to you this morning, starting with Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante via Zoom. He's a political scientist. He is director of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. Doc, good morning.
Good morning, Ben. Good to see you.
It's Wednesday, and you make my Wednesdays. Thank you for joining. Also joining the news review this morning, we have, and he is a United Nations eminent peace ambassador to Ghana and country director, International Association of World Peace Advocates, Ghana chapter, in the person of Dr. Ben Samuel, or Samuel Ben Owusu. I nearly did a reshuffling of your name. Dr. Samuel Ben Owusu. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me this morning.
Okay, so right before we get into the review, I'm a bit curious. For me and for all of those who are watching us this morning, the millions watching us this morning.
Yeah.
What do you do as an eminent peace ambassador to Ghana and this country?
To advocate for peace and promote peace within our region here, to mobilize people, to speak for the United Nations on the area of peace and how we can develop through the system of peace, because no nation develops without peace. And the more we talk about it, the more we accept it and the more we have the value of peace and things like that. Because in our system and our country here, we don't really understand security, safety, and peace within, the body system of development. And it's a problem. It's a problem. It's a big problem. We always wait for something to happen before we start talking about. We all need to come into the place of peace and things like that. I think that my job is to make sure that every individual, every institution, every organization add into their system of operation and administration how we can maintain, sustain, and build the peace that we have, especially within our region here in Africa and Ghana.
Okay, very quick one to just add and just address this from you. The Global Peace Index. Our country has been falling. There's been a sharp fall.
Yes.
In fact, the latest one I read, some of the countries that have overtaken us actually shocked me. But they point to some things that are happening. And then you have the coup d'etats in the sub-region. What's your view on that? Very, very briefly.
Yes. Africa, the more the world is growing up in the area of peace and development and things like that, I look as if Africa we are not coming into that, to the extent that at this technology age, we are still having, people dying for elections and things like that, coups and all those things because of lack of development. We are not putting a systematic developmental plan whereby everybody will follow. We are still in the olden system, olden days where, everybody is looking for power and we don't care about the life. We forgot that every life counts and everybody is important in nation development and things like that. So I think that the wake-up call is now. We need to talk about it so much to the extent that nobody deserves to die, nobody deserves to be destroyed because somebody want power, somebody want authority and things like that. That have been the biggest issue we have in our this, and the problem is we don't have a system of development. Development plan is not our project. Like, for instance, look at what is happening in our political kind of system, where the political party is bringing their agenda, bringing their manifesto. This is not helping Africa. We need to go back into a system of national development system where we can have it being established, so that when you come, you continue. I come, I continue.
All right. Yeah. Let's quickly get into this. Doc, I also know that usually when you join the conversation, you have a few thoughts. If in a minute you have any thoughts. I mean, the Electoral Commission as well and its limited registration exercise is ongoing. Do you have any thoughts on that? It's not in today's papers as far as I see, but I want your quick thoughts on that.
Yes. I have watched from a distance, but with some level of pain, and that the democracy we struggle to build, we are gradually working against it. If you look at the happenings that people who have turned the age of voting, and by law, they are required to register and have their day on the day of election to exercise their franchise, are going through this sort of ordeal, then it's a cause for worry. Because if you are talking about free and fair elections, one of the indices of free and fair election is voter registration. And this is one of the critical indices that is required in election, because it gives you the role of people who are qualified and to vote, and you can use it to check any aberration whatsoever. I am not happy, because if you look at the problems we are hearing, people's concern, I think this thing can be addressed easily. So it is my hope and prayer that the EC will listen to all the concerns and make sure that people are able to be given the opportunity to put their name in the register. Of course, the EC want to protect the sanctity of the register, but that is not to shortchange people who also have the constitutional duty to be in the register. So they should be able to balance this act if we are to make any meaningful progress. There is something that I want to send to the EC and that of the MPP, that the MPP is not part of this process. They have not done anything wrong. But if the EC go on this route, the likelihood of the people venting their anger on the party is high, in the sense that normally within this type of exercise, if people feel disenfranchised or people feel that somebody is working against their interests and that there is going to be an ultimate beneficiary of that, program, they are likely to vent their anger on the party, which is the MPP. So it is my hope and prayer that the EC will look sharp and address the issues head on. Then I expect the NPP to also criticize the process and make it known that they have no hand in the process, which I know they don't have any hand in that, but it is in their interest to do so. Otherwise, the electorate will vent their anger on them.
Okay, thank you. Let's get into the papers. But to the Electoral Commission, the chairperson and others, Dr. Kwame Asante says, look sharp. I mean, you understand. Somewhat else here. Yes. You know that. Look sharp. What else here? Anyway, so the Daily Graphic this morning will blaze through the papers. Turning economy around, cut down on expenditure. Speakers urge government at Graphic Business Stanbic Bank breakfast meeting. And there's consortium commits $10 million to lithium drilling. Lithium. I mean, I'm always, when it comes to, look at Niger and its uranium. Now we have Ghana. We have everything here. Yet we are like church mice, stricken by poverty. And we're back at the IMF's doorstep. Yet Isikaso. But this one, of great importance to me, because we are talking about it every day, Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. Now, this says, Professor J.E. Mensah, 80% of prostate cancer patients report late for treatment. That's the whole thing about a lot. Even with the cancers, report early, your chances are 90% and above. In some cases, even up to about 100%. But once you go late at the point where it's getting terminal, there's nothing you can do. Don't impede work of EC judiciary, SKB Asante tells politicians. Oh, wow, the good old professor. So let's quickly get into them. I'll just go through these very quickly, and then, gentlemen, you can share your thoughts with me. The government has to do more to cut expenditure in its quest to bring the country's debt to sustainable levels and revive the economy. Speakers at the Graphic Business Stanbic Bank breakfast meeting who made the suggestion argued that for the country to survive such turbulent times and come out stronger, the government had to prioritize efficient spending. They hold the belief that while the domestic debt exchange program, which is part of the IMF program, had helped to create some space for spending, it was not enough to bring the economy out of its current crisis. So we know that now government is also saying we're going to execute a second round of a domestic debt exchange program. And already the banks are saying, Charlie, why? We've had it up to our eyebrows. Enough is enough. They're pushing back. The pensioner bondholders are also saying, look, you excluded us from the first one. Don't bring us back. You try to bring us back, we'll start picketing the ministry again. So that's the tail of the tape. And then you'd have the likes of Professor Godfred Bokpin saying that Obe Veranda is also Obeying. You are in an IMF program, yet you are spending and overspending. That's the first story. I'll take your reactions. More than 80% of prostate cancer patients succumb to death because they report to hospitals with advanced stages of the disease and low blood levels, research findings at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital have established. Now, these patients had the worst outcome, with 73% dying less than 2 years after diagnosis, the findings as stated. And that study was led by the head of surgery at the hospital, Professor James Edward Mensah, which showed that 23% of patients died between 2 and 5 years after diagnosis, while a quarter of the cohort survived for more than 4 years, for more than 5 years, actually. Those two stories I want you to reflect on, and maybe you can add your thoughts on that consortium committing to mining or drilling lithium in Ghana. Here we are again with another resource. We've mismanaged our gold. We've mismanaged everything else, our oil. Now there's lithium. Let's see how it goes. I'll start with you, Dr. Asante.
Yes. If you look at the story on cut down expenditure and the rest of them, we have said this time and again. But yesterday I listened to the program, but I had concern because I was disappointed with the chief director. And saying
the chief director of the finance ministry, I think,
yes.
Eva Menz. And let me add that I was also disappointed when I listened to her, but you go ahead.
I was disappointed. He was just talking about government doing this, government doing this, government doing this. Yes, we agree. But he forgot to talk about government expenditure, that the size of government, unnecessary expenditure that bring loss to our states. And he forget about that. And I was so disappointed because one would have thought that that would be part of her also calculation, and it will feature into the conversation. It is not, because, and some of the expenditures describe them as something meager, little. No, I disagree, because even the little things that you want to discount, they are very, very important. Little drops of water make the ocean. So I wanted the chief director to touch on the unnecessary expenditure of government, and he also did not touch on issue of corruption, which takes a lot of our money away. He forgot to touch on that. Further to that, he also refused to touch on the fact that it is the duty of government to ensure that people who do not pay tax are brought to book. So you were saying that people were not ready to pay tax and all that. It shows that you are talking about the fact that the state is not capable, what we call in political science state capacity. You are saying that the extractive capacity of the state is weak. And if it is weak, why do we want to, give government mandate to govern us? Because we believe that this is something that the state should be able to do, and that you rake in the necessary revenue. All these things did not feature in the conversation yesterday. I was so disappointed. But I think that going forward, you will look at all these things and then incorporate them into a speech when he's talking about what issue of what financing and how to cut down government expenditure. Otherwise, we always give government the green light that go ahead and all is fine. It is not true.
Okay.
The issue about prostate cancer and the way people report very late is a worrying situation. And part of the problem can be blamed on the fact that, there is no constant education on these things. And also the fact that people also have certain penchant of, as if they don't care a hoot about what is happening until the last minute that they go for remedy and all that. I believe that the way forward to these things is that you educate people as to the need to visit hospital regularly to do some of these checks so that you save yourself. Life is more important than any other thing.
Thank you so much, Doc. We have something interesting coming up that I'll share with you when it does come up, and hopefully it will address some of those concerns you've raised. Any thoughts on those matters?
Yes, thank you for the time. Starting from the prostate cancer issue, it looks as if Ghana, we really do not have a very strong understanding on our health issues. We wait for something to happen before we start talking about it and things like that. Men are very important in nation development, and we really need to put our strength on this area. If you look at it, one of the problems is our, herbal industries, our local industries. Many people, they are closer to us every day on radio, every day on TV. And they are giving us adverts and things like that. Oh, if you have prostate cancer, the hope that they are giving to the people. Unless when something is, is already out of hand, then we take it to Kolobo and things like that. I think that the education needs to be very, very strengthened in all areas. And then, even though our herbal centers and they are helping us, but we really need to use this mainstream line health centers, go there straight, go to main hospital, have a check, and then you'll be able to be sorted out. It's very important. Then the second one is the government expenditure. This, I think that every government is a problem in Africa. This one of the problems that is causing these coups and things like that. Our government system is such that when we come in, we suffer a lot, we spend a lot to come in. So when we come in, we must pay the boys. We must set offices and raise kind of agencies and things like that to be able to settle everybody. And it all goes down to our national development system plan that we don't have. If we have that plan, in Ghana here, we have been able to have that national development plan, which we have a commission for it. I don't know why we are not using the commission to institute these things.
We play politics with it.
We play politics with it. And our institutions too are very weak. We don't even have an institution that is monitoring these kind of things, because all the institutions are under the government, are under the president, and things like that. It's overwhelming, because The next government that will come will repeat the same thing because he has boys to pay, he has people to settle and things like that. But we need to be able to cut down on government expenditure. We need to come down. It's a very bad attitude. It's really taking a lot of our revenue away.
Right, right. Let's get on to other stories. I just see this message. Let me quickly acknowledge. Solomon Yantechi says, at the Graphics Stanbic meeting yesterday, a woman representative from the Finance Ministry, Eva Menz is her name, I believe, made me furious when she defended the current situation. After the customary Russian stroke COVID blame game, she continued by blaming the citizens' unwillingness to pay taxes, citing instances all over the world where people happily and willingly paid their taxes. The truth is that nobody enjoys paying taxes everywhere, which is why wealthy individuals look for tax havens to hide their money. However, in the jurisdictions she mentioned, citizens can see how their taxes are spent. And, if necessary, they can be penalized for their political views. When they see their taxes being used to support politicians or to buy V8s every day, citizens are not compelled to take action. And I felt same. I was listening to Eva Menz. Honestly, I felt it was disastrous what she said. Madam Eva Menz, I'm expressing my personal opinion to you this morning. I listened to you and I didn't feel you were on top of matters. You had a feel of what was happening to the ordinary Ghanaian. The things you were talking about and the things that had been said before were opposite, tangentially, really. Really. Yesterday, I went somewhere and at the end of the day, the bill, okay, a bill, believe me, if you look at a bill of about 493 cedis for something, let's say 493 cedis, and your taxes alone are over 100 cedis.
Yeah, about 30.
Taxes.
Yeah, about 30-something%.
What the heck?
Yeah.
What the heck is going on? Something 493. So taxes alone are about 1/4.
Yeah.
Even more than 1/4.
Yeah. That's what.
And you come and tell me what? Eva Menz. Come again. The Daily Guide. #1 gets 500 million Ghana cedi bail. And we all know, I don't even know why this situation, but again, Ghana for you. Adwa Safo cools down Kwabena constituents with fine yogurt. She says, oh, Miss Shremo, I apologize. Just as our president back then said, Miss Shremo, give me... she's also saying Miss Shremo, and now she's cooling her constituents down with fun yogurt. All right, Domi Kwabena. I won't throw mud at opponents, says Bawumia. Okay, all right. There's 3 Ghanaians arrested over Russian Wagner activities. That story is on page 6, and they are residents of Diabene farming community in the Sekandi Takrade metropolis. Now, they are supposed to be leading a group linked to the Russian Wagner group, and they even staged a demonstration, and now they've been apprehended. You can't come here and come and do any Wagner something. Oh, what is wrong with you? And then why OSB seized Cecilia Dapa's assets again? I'll just take a quick look at that. The Office of the Special Prosecutor has made more serious allegations against former Minister for Sanitation and Water Resources, Cecilia Dapa, as it seeks a court order to confirm the seizure of money seized at her homes, as well as the freezing of her bank accounts. There are certain further details about transactions, the sale of a certain property in a certain name, which actually was her name, ended up in her bank account. It's murky, but follow the story. We'll bring you details of that. The final newspaper this morning says, Apia Kubi to contest Ifija Kwabre South MPP parliamentary primaries, and then private investor to inject $85 million into Lands Commission's operations. The Ghanaian publisher building a successful brand through organizational culture, and then there'll be voter registration will go beyond district offices in 2024. That's the EC. And finally, ISA warns government over high interest loans. But government, as always, I believe they'll dig their heels in. Will they listen? And only a seminal. Doc, do you have any reflections on these stories before I come back into the studio?
I'll look at Adwa Safo's story. If you look at Adwa Safo's story, yes, he has apologized.
You are not in Dominic Abenya, right? So you'll not go for some of the yogurt?
No. Even if I happen to be there, I'm not sure I would take part. But so we have listened to her apology and all that. But my worry is that, one, she failed to discuss a problem with the constituents with the party and with Ghanaians. Remember that if you are an MP, one of your roles is that you are a representative of your party at the constituency, and you represent your constituents as far as their interest is concerned, as far as their policies and programs are concerned. That is why we give you all the resources, so that at each point in time you go there, hold a data and discuss government programs and your programs and any other issue with them. She failed to do that. At the time that her party needed her so much, she was not there for the party. Now today, all of a sudden, you resurface and you want the party to give you a nod to come to parliament again. I think that he's taking the people for granted. It's more of an insult to the people. Yes, I can leave you and then come back at any time. It's not fair. Everybody appreciates the fact that you had a problem, genuine problem with your family. Did you discuss so that you bring everybody to speed with what you are talking about? You left everybody. Political party activities are serious business that you need to attend, give it your all, so as to be able to be a bona fide member of the system. So if you shirk that responsibility, I'm afraid people will punish you. And I'm not surprised about the reaction from the constituency. I believe that to be fair to her, she should not contest at all, because I'm not sure that people will retain her at all.
Okay, quick thoughts, very quick thoughts on what I raised. And I'm sure you should be concerned about the Wagner Group thing.
Very, very, very concerned about that, because these are the things that we should be very, very fast and swift in.
I'm glad, at least in this instance, we've been very quick.
Very, very happy that the police have been able to cramp down them very on the early stage like this. We need to be very, very fast, because the way, if you look at the trend in West Africa right now, what is happening, the coups and things like that, it may not be a coup in Ghana, but some of these things, if we allow them a space, insurgencies will just take place right now, and it is really going to destroy this peace and security that we have in this country. Then I will also talk about the Lands Commission seeking for money to upgrade themselves and to structure the administration systems and things like that. I think it's timely. But the money is too much. I don't know what they are going to do.
So the private investor is going to inject $85 million.
And
you see, in this country,
this is government.
My problem is $85 million. How are we going to follow the paper trail? $85 million. These $85 million. Do
you know how much?
I'll leave it there.
Lands Commission. The people, everybody in this country is connected to Lands Commission. What money do you need again from outside? The money that you take from your commission, you are not able to use it, and now you are going to look for a private investor. So what will happen to our lands?
I'm saying someday, if we are not careful, if we keep with this political ping pong of NDC MPs and the things, some of the things, especially this administration is doing, we may wake up one day and someone will come and knock on your door and say, "Oh, Ghana we
own all the lands.
We own Ghana, so get out, go find somewhere else, because you are no longer
a private." How can you allow a private investor to come and invest in a national asset?
No, but let's be fair to them. The story is on page 8. Let's dilate on the facts. I know where you're coming from, and
I understand.
But as part of efforts to transform the operations,
yes. Okay.
So-called of the Lands Commission and improve its services, government will sign a contract with a Ghanaian-owned private investor to inject $85 million into the commission's operations. The contract agreement is expected to be signed between the Lands Commission and the PDB Ghana Limited, a wholly owned Ghanaian land administration company, by the end of this year. We just hope that the money will serve its purpose, because Ghana we day. Ghana.
It's a serious matter. It's a very serious matter.
Let's quickly take a look at some of the headlines from your papers.
Okay.
No, you can just read what we have there.
NAM1 denies frauding customers for 1.6 billion something. ECOWAS urged to apply tougher sanction to stop illicit arms prolifications. And then Lands Commission, I think that's...
And we basically looked at all the other stories, right?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Let's take a quick look at these awards that you're organizing. Africa Peace Advocate Awards, and these are honorary awards. You have some honorary awardees this year. Tell us a bit about it. I'm particularly interested because our very own Anochiwa Basewa, who is a broadcast journalist with us of the Sanitary Project, has also been nominated. Tell us a bit about it.
Yeah, like I said before, one of my job is to mobilize voices, mobilize people who have a platform, and they can use their platform to talk about peace, to advocate peace, and then promote peace for us to be able to sustain what we have, especially looking at next year. We're about to have an election. Our elections are not free and fair yet. We are still behind our democratic freedom, where everybody look at what is happening to the limited registration system here. We have this great woman, when she was in the other side, when he was in the other side, speaking about this same thing that is happening right now, but she's repeating the same thing. We need people that have a platform that will be able to use it to advocate for peace. So we came together with our team to bring all these people together so that we'll be able to honor them and also give them assignment that whatever you are doing in the platform that you have, use it to speak about peace, the importance of it, and how we should all come together to sustain it. So that's what we are doing tomorrow. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining the conversation. Doc, any final words, very briefly? Doc?
Yeah, I will look at the MPP, primaries. They are going to the elections about to happen November 4. So far, what I'm seeing is fine. But my caution to them is that they should not undertake the campaign in such a way that they assassinate the character of people within the party, because they will have a price to pay when one of them will obviously emerge as victorious. And then you have destroyed him already. You come back to repackage and sell him. The people will not buy that candidate. It is a caution to them. They should, watch it out.
All right. Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante, we're so grateful, as always. Dr. Samuel Ben Owusu, United Nations Eminent Peace Ambassador to Ghana and Country Director, International Association of World Peace Advocates, Ghana Chapter. Thank you for joining the conversation. Of course, Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante is a political scientist. He is also head of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. Before we head into sports, Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, you heard what Prof said. 80% of those who come late actually lose out. So head to Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic for your prostate issues, for your female fertility issues. Locate them at Spintex opposite the Shell signboard, Kumasi Kronoma here behind the Angel Educational Complex, Takrade Anaji Estate, Tema Community 22, Techiman Hanswa, and Esiama Nzima. Reach them on 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. Bringing us to the start of sports. Up next.
Let's do sports now on the AM show. I am Muftau Nabila Abdullahi. On Tuesday, many actions took place when it came to Ghana football, with George Free directing his lawyers to head to the Court of Arbitration for Sport to file an appeal against the decisions of the Elections Committee and the Appeals Committee to deny him an opportunity of defending himself after the Elections Committee disqualified him from contesting for the position of president of the Ghana Football Association. My colleague Razak Musbao has the rest in the following report.
Former vice president of the Ghana Football Association was disqualified from the race after one of the 5 individuals who endorsed his form was found to be unfit to do so. According to the vetting committee, one Jeffrey Asari, who endorsed his application on the nomination form as a director of Victory Club Warriors FC, was neither an authorized signatory for the club nor a company director as required by the regulations. This therefore made his nomination incomplete, rendering him unqualified to contest incumbent Kurti Kreku in the elections. However, on 8th September, Mr. Efriye successfully filed an appeal at the Appeals Committee, calling on them to reverse the erroneous decision by the Vetting Committee on the following basis. 1. Mr. Efriye accused the committee of breach of natural justice and fair hearing when it failed to apply Article 8, Clause 3, when it neglected, failed, and refused to apply the regulation. He also noted that he provided 6 members endorsing his nomination, and the invalidation of one shouldn't warrant his disqualification, as he still meets the minimum 5. Aside from this, the Elections Committee, which is supposed to be comprised of 5 members per Article 54 of the GFA Statute 2019, were 6 during his vetting, and this, he says, is contrary to the mandated composition of the panel. After a thorough review, the Appeals Committee dismissed the plea by George Efriye and upheld the decision of the Vetting Committee on the following basis. On the composition of the Vetting Committee, the committee clarified that the 6th person mentioned by Efriye was the in-house lawyer of the Ghana Football Association, who was present for administrative purposes and not part of the vetting team. This practice, according to the elections regulations of the GFA, is permissible. The committee also noted that it is untrue that Mr. George Efriye provided 6 members endorsing his form. Rather, the only members submitted in support of his nomination are only 5, with 1 being unfit to do so. They also explained that Mr. Efriye rather included a statutory declaration from another person who had not supported his nomination, rendering the document irrelevant. Meanwhile, lawyer for George Efriye insists the committee did not give them a fair hearing and they will seek redress at the Court of Arbitration for Sports.
In our case before the committee, we told them that certain things were done by the Elections Committee. They alleged in their decision. And we want to also be privy to those things. For instance, they claim that there was video evidence of the sitting where members, or even the interview of George and the other members of that member of the GFA who had supported it. And we said that, please make it available to us. We also want to interrogate it. But if you are making a decision on the basis of some information against me, at least I should get the benefit of knowing why that decision is being made with that information. Then, just like the Elections Committee, the Appeals Committee decides that will not give us that benefit, yet decide the matter on the basis of evidence that we have not seen. That is another critical matter in this whole thing.
While it is unsure when the appeal will be filed at the Sports Judicial Review Body, the elections have now been moved from September 27 to October 5, with Kete Kreku on course to contest unopposed. For Joy Sports, Razak Musbah.
Meanwhile, the Ghana Football Association, they have rescheduled the elections to October 5, and Kete Kreku will contest for the position of president unopposed, and then 7 other regional football association chairmen will also go for their roles unopposed. It is only in the Brong-Ahafo region that 3 people will be contesting for position of regional chairman. For the upper East, 2 people, and also when it comes to the northern region, he's going unopposed. Eastern region going unopposed. Volta region unopposed. After all the people who were interested in occupying various positions were disqualified. But for the Executive Council members seeking to represent Premier League clubs, apart from Alhaji Akambi of Accra House of Folk, who has been disqualified, the 10 others have gone through, including former Black Stars coach Kwesi Appiah, and the elections will be happening in Tamale on October 5. But now let's move on and hear from George Efriye, who is also a former vice president of the Ghana Football Association. He says Ghana football under Kete Kreku for the next 4 years will collapse.
I think that our league needs credibility. I think that we deserve a better sponsorship than what we are getting today. I think that there must be fair competition. I think that nobody can sit in Accra and decide which match should be won by which team. I think that it's important that nobody decides who goes on relegation. These things I hear from club owners. I think that when a player is qualified and called into the national team, one team must not go behind and say that sell them to us or else the player will be dropped from the national team. These are the things that is happening in our football, and these are not my words. We had
just level allegations.
It is not allegation. We have just refused. When Yabua Tinjan spoke on air, you say you didn't hear. So why are you saying it's an allegation? Am I the one who say? You've heard the things that club owners continuously have come to say on air, and you say you don't care. How have you gone behind the scenes to investigate to find out yourself? These are very important. If we continue like this, I can assure you and I can bet you, there will not be growth. There will not be growth. 4 years down the line, what we are saying today, cut and keep the videos. 4 years, you and I will come and meet here and we'll be talking about the same thing.
So
but I expect you to lead the charge.
If re-elected, you think the Ghana football will crumble? Is that what you're saying?
We are in dead. If we continue, if our football continues under Ketokreku and this, trust me.
The Black Queens are currently in Kigali to come up against Rwanda in the qualifiers for the 2024 Africa Women's Cup of Nations. Head coach of the team, Nora Hoptel, has been speaking. She says her girls have had the best of preparations and is very confident that they could walk away with victory.
Here in Kigali, in the King's Palace Stadium, and we had a short preparation. We flew here with half of the team Sunday. Some players, they still played on the weekend and arrived yesterday. So we had yesterday an easy session with half of the squad. Today, final session already with the full team. It was bringing the focus on the tactical objectives, getting used to the AstroTurf. It's a bit new, because we always played on grass, but we like it because we are a possession team and want to dominate the game always. So when the ball is rolling quick, we do like it. So for tomorrow, yeah, we, of course, need to be smart in our decision who we bring on the pitch. It's a new regulation, so we are only allowed here to bring 18 players with 3 substitutes. So it's a bit the question who is fresh, who is in championship rhythm. So those criteria are quite important to bring the squad on the pitch. So we have some good substitutes on the bench that we can add something to the game. We are pretty convinced that we're going to win the game tomorrow. We have a good mood, as you saw behind me, and we have a good focus also. We know what our job is, and so we will have a successful game tomorrow.
This is our wrap up AM Sports here with me, Muftau Nabila Abda. You can head on to myjoyonline.com and read some more sports stories. Up next is AM Business.
Economists in recent times have been asking government to be heavy on addressing the microeconomic challenges affecting Ghana's economy. This, they believe, will consolidate government efforts in tackling challenges affecting the macroeconomic side of the Ghanaian economy. They're asking government to show more commitment in that regard.
We have put so much emphasis on revenue, but I don't think we are doing enough on the expenditure side to be able to get us back to where we expect to be. As Prof Gachi just said, if you put too much pressure on those who are giving the revenue, then in the end, you are not going to be realizing the kind of revenue that you want to realize. And we've seen AGI complain several times about the number of taxes that have been imposed on them. Us as individuals as well, not just businesses, we've seen the taxes. And it's unfortunate that our economy is predominantly informal. And so when taxes are imposed, we see the same people paying the taxes over and over again. And that puts a huge burden on those people who are paying the taxes. Now, in terms of expenditure, I think that government has announced some cuts in its expenditure, but I still don't think that those cuts are enough. There are things that we could still look at and cut down. There's nothing like saying that, this doesn't cost so much. Even in our personal lives, if we see ourselves struggling, the little things that you cut down would come together and be huge for you. So I think that we need to look again at the items that government is spending on and see whether there are more things that we could do to bring the deficit down.
Chief Executive Officer of Petrosol, Michael Bosenbelt, said businesses are worried about the current development in the economy.
In moments of crisis, especially take a family setting, the focus is on food for the children. It's on basic needs. If you are flying, you're on air, and there's some emergency, whether you're in business class, you are in economy, that is not when you are requesting for some special, food to be served you because you're in business class or because you're in first class. At that moment, it's about safety. And so the focus is on, please follow the emergency rules. So when we find ourselves in critical moments like this, our desire as private sector operators is that collectively working with the finance ministry and the economic management team will focus on the basics. Because in crisis, you come out of crisis when you focus on the basics. We have done this before. As was alluded to, in the early 80s, when we were in crisis, whilst we were going through this, we came up with the PAMS card. And it was intended to address basic needs as we deal with the macroeconomic indicators.
Dean at the University of Cape Coast Business School, Professor John Gachi noted that government can still do more to bring down the current situation under control.
What should be critical for us is that what is the value of the indebtedness to the IMF, and not only to the IMF, to other creditors. Because when we procure debt, we need to see value in terms of the infrastructure that we have built for ourselves. The question we need to be asking ourselves whether the large number of debt that we have procured is commensurate with the value that we have created with those debt, the infrastructure we have created, the program we have brought on board for the country. So that is a critical thing that we need to be asking. And then we need to link that to Article 35(7) of the Constitution that says that programs that are actually started by a government, when they are out of power, they should be continued practically. So these are the issues that I believe we need to now table to enhance accountability of debt management. So all we know is that our country has procured some debt.
There is also a call to reassess government revenue mobilization drive to save businesses in the country.
When we are talking about taxation, we have to place it in context. You see, because, like I said, in other developed economies, the tax rates are high, but the government also takes care of the vulnerable. You see, so if you pay high tax and you know that whatever is left is mine, I can go on vacation, I can do whatever, because nobody is going to call you from, your extended family to say that I have this problem and I need help. Because if there's someone who is unemployed, the person can easily access unemployment benefits. So these are the areas that I think once we match both and we are increasing the tax rate, nobody will have any problem, because you pay the tax, and you know that government will also meet its obligations. Of course, you know, with the free senior high school, government is, you know, doing something to cushion people, but it has to be targeted. You know, and that is one of the things that I'm sure by now they themselves have realized that mass, you know, exercise has to be looked at, so that the vulnerable, you know, you see, you need to direct resources in a much more targeted manner, so that you achieve greater, you know, outcome. If you spread it evenly, you're not going to achieve much.
On the banking sector, Professor Gachi advised government to prioritize the recapitalization of the Bank of Ghana.
Yes, so long as you are weak, your capital base is eroded, the proper thing to do is to recapitalize. But the problem is government doesn't have money. So how will government prioritize recapitalizing Bank of Ghana? So that is the situation we find ourselves. And that is what some of us believe. While Bank of Ghana was compelled to finance government activities, Bank of Ghana would have been looking at its mandate of price stability and also being the last resort for the financial sector before doing that. So I think Bank of Ghana has forgotten that they are the bank of last resort. They have forgotten that they have a crucial role to play to sustain the financial system. So that is a challenge that we need to hear the finance minister how they will be able to recapitalize Bank of Ghana.
Reacting to this, Chief Director at the Finance Ministry, Mensah, said government has embarked on various expenditure cut measures.
In as much as people would want to contend with how the reasons why we got here, I think it's very clear that we are still recovering from COVID. And nobody should pretend that we have overcome the effect and the impact of COVID. Number two, there's global economic crisis. It is not just Ghana. And I think we should establish that. But back to the point you made about our IMF program hinging on revenues. It's hinged on revenues because as a country, we do not collect enough revenues. And I think everyone must understand that. Compared to our peers, even within the region, we are doing 13% of GDP. If you go through Accra, you drive through Accra, you see the buildings in Accra, you see the cars being driven, you can tell that there is money in the system. And yet, what comes to the state to provide public service is not as happens in other countries. So there's a disconnect. There's disconnect between the GDP, what we produce as a nation, and what comes to the state to deliver public service. And that is why it's important to look at our revenue generation. How are we doing? I'm sitting with the Govt president, so my ears are already full with how much taxes we are collecting and the pressure we are giving them. But do businesses pay enough taxes? Do professionals pay enough taxes? Do those, you cannot be in the UK, you study in North and Prof. If you pay a house help, she will pay taxes. Do we get our masons, our house helps, our electricians, and all of those professionals to pay taxes? So there's a disconnect. But they expect government to provide them with public services. Winston, give me a minute. The other thing is that do businesses pay the taxes that they should be paying? If you went around Makola, do you think that the incomes that the businesses there earn, they are paying enough on their income taxes? In other countries, people pay about 20 to 30% of their income as taxes. How many chief executives in Ghana, we see them all over, how many of them pay taxes on their incomes? So there's a disconnect, and I think that it's important we recognize that. Okay. Not to expenditures. When we talk about government expenditures, the biggest expenditure is compensation. How do you reduce compensation? In other countries, when they are in crisis, they lay people off. They lay workers off. In fact, in some jurisdictions, they lay policemen off. They lay teachers off. Here in our country, we haven't laid anyone off. Indeed, that is more of a social welfare system than actual expenditure management. We do not lay anyone off. In fact, there's pressure on government to take on more nurses and more teachers. And you are saying we should cut down expenditures. This year, ask Ministry of Education and Ministry of Health. We haven't been able to employ a single trainee. We haven't added any more people on our payroll. So that is an expenditure cut. Are Ghanaians willing to make those sacrifices? That should be, in fact, if we can reduce our compensation budget, which is about 51 billion, by 10%, that 5 billion can fix a number of roads, can pay more than 20 contractors or 50 contractors. So if we reduce our compensation budget by just 10%, we are hovering around 51 billion. That is half of what GRA is collecting this year. So we are using half of the revenues generated to pay salaries and wages. Can we add on? No, so we haven't added on. So that is efficiency. We are reducing expenditure. In other years, we had added 40,000 annually. That translates into higher expenditures. So we have decided government has decided not to increase that expenditure.
Most industry players and businesses are berating government for not sticking to its side of the bargain to adjust fiscal expenditure amidst the country's debt sustainability crisis, for which reason creditors have taken a haircut to save the situation. For Joy Business, James.
Welcome back on the AM show, and here we are. We're going to be talking about our economy, the financial situation of the country. And initial government debt is said to have been restructured by 259 billion cedis. That was the estimate then. Government scaled that projection down to 137 billion cedis as the debt owed. Now, unsuccessful with this under the DDEP, government eventually succeeded with 87 billion cedis under that arrangement, leading to the bailout. But guess what? Government is now back seeking to restructure the shortfall in the DDEP, and that's the difference between 137 and 87 billion Ghana cedis, leaving out some odd 50 billion Ghana cedis. There's a pushback from the banks, which are saying, we've had enough. We've had it out to our eyebrows when it comes to these situations. Pensioner bondholders are also saying, look, we ought to be excluded from this. You excluded us the first time. If you try bringing us back onto this renewed effort, we're going to picket your ministry again. Here we ask, what is happening with our financial situation in the country, our financial institutions, and what impact will this have on the trust of people when it comes to banking? Well, joining me in the studio, Isaac Kofi Ajay, data analyst, or should I say senior data analyst? Senior data analyst here at Joy News. Yeah, I've given you Maboa Paso. Sir, data analyst. Sir, data analyst. And we also have joining the conversation Dr. Edu Anani Entry. He is convener for the pensioner bondholders grouping as well. I'll start in the studio with Kofi Ajay, but something interesting I just want to bring in, because we've premised this conversation on partly on the graphic, Stambik breakfast meeting from yesterday, and earlier during the news review we're talking about this. Eva Mens, the chief director at the Finance Ministry. Did you listen to her yesterday?
I did.
I was honestly, I mean, you know me, I don't hide my sentiments. I don't pretend. I don't sugarcoat it. I was irked. I was annoyed by some of what she said. You know, yesterday, I had a long day, which ended very late. And I had to go somewhere with someone at some point. Now, the person got a bill, and I decided I like doing that. I took a look at the bill, what the person was going to pay. It was 493 cedis that the person had to pay. Do you know that the tax component was over 100 cedis?
Yes.
Over 100 cedis in taxes.
And you know what?
For something that is, so the real bill was 300 and something, and taxes alone led to that. And they come and tell us what?
Exactly. So what government is doing now is that if you buy an item, which is, let's say, 400 cedis, NHIL, whatever, COVID, whatever they calculate, they will add it to the initial cost and
sum it up.
That cost and then now tax you VAT.
Of 15%.
So the question is, the VAT must be applied. How is a tax value added that you want to add the initial tax amount to how much I'm supposed to pay, then you come back to tax me?
I know you will not call it that, but you know what I will call it? Thievery. It's not taxation, it is thievery.
In fact,
because these taxes are inhibitive. Now it's getting up to, it's beyond the eyebrows. You are basically drowning.
You go to the malls, you buy pizza, you buy whatever, and you look at the bill. The real amount plus the tax component
it's exorbitant.
It's a headache.
And looking at where our economy is, and you are taxing people into the ground. Yeah. So when I listened to Eva Mensah, and it's good I was not at that function, because I would have, issued a riposte to what she said. I may have said things that people in government would really not like.
Presidents were not happy, and you saw the number of pensioners who were there yesterday. In fact, that was the first time at the Graphic Stanbic Business meeting that I had seen that number of pensioners, react, because they came there for solutions. I mean, you ask them to save for, days like this. They do save, they buy bonds. They are ready to cash in, and then you do this to them by restructuring and now rolling out a new debt restructuring, or what you are calling a reopening of the DDEP. Then they should be worried. How should they pay their medical bills? How should they take care of their kids? How should they foot their rent and other expenditure? On top of this, they buy things and you are taxing them. You are giving them high VATs, and if you look at what you buy and how much you are paying as tax, then it becomes a headache, Ben.
A big headache. But just walk us through this renewed DDEP and everything in between. Already the banks are saying, look, Charlie, don't even start. Don't start this again. Look, the banking sector crisis, then the supposed cleanup.
Yeah.
Look at what the banking sector has gone through over the last how many years? Cleanup, DDEP. Now another DDEP.
Cleanup in 2018, DDEP in 2022. I mean, that's a very short period to accommodate such
shocks, basically.
In fact, the banking sector cleanup cost us about 25 billion Ghana cedis, and we are still paying that loan. And you've now restructured. The first DDEP that took place, it was the banks, the commercial banks, insurance companies, individuals, and even Bank of Ghana that came in to save, the finance ministry, or let me say the government, from that unsustainable debt levels. But let's look at the current DDEP reopening. They have decided to call it reopening. But per our checks, this will be the third round of the DDEP, because
third round,
because the first one had to do with that 97 billion Ghana cedis that they wanted to restructure. They got about 80% of it. The second one was when they invited IPPs, remember, and they invited those who had dollar-denominated bonds but are still in our local space. They invited pension, the trustee funds, and all of those. That was the second part. This very one, which they are saying is the reopening, basically calling all other local bondholders to say that if you did not have the chance to participate in the first one, we are giving you another chance to participate. The target is around 13 billion Ghana cedis, and this will include ESLA, Dache, and then GOG bonds. But I would like to say, to tell you what the IMF has to say about debt restructuring and what you have to do when you are doing it the first time. Ben, it says, handle it with care. You have to handle debt restructuring with care. And I love this quote from the IMF paper that says that debt restructuring is like performing a surgery. You only do it when it is necessary, and you avoid it when it will bring you more harm than good. At the point where we are, we have to ask ourselves, is this bringing us more harm than good? The third one is that cast your net wide and be clear and transparent. This is not coming from me, this is coming from the IMF. Why are we bringing this up? You know, the initial target of 137 was reduced to 97 billion Ghana cedis.
Right.
The finance ministry gave explanation why.
Was it 87 or 97?
97. 87 was the actual amount that was restructured. The target was 97.
So it was 40 billion short, and now it actually became 50 billion short at the end of it.
Exactly. Now, the finance ministry gave reasons why they had to reduce the initial amount from that 137 to 97. First, they say they allowed some people to convert their bonds to treasury bills. Who are those people that were given that privilege to convert bonds that we are all supposed to restructure? Some people were given the chance to convert them to T-bills, which means they are cashing in at the moment. Because if you look at the T-bill rate, it's very high.
Exactly. And you know, we had even heard that, you know, of course, those walking the corridors of power or who may have had hinted some people who had conducted speedy withdrawals, you know.
In fact, the IMF says that it's in the IMF statement.
It's in the IMF statement.
It says that do not allow people to use their political power or influence to exempt themselves from the collective debt restructuring.
But from what we hear, that happened. And we also know that the politicians themselves
that's the question we have
bought a lot of these bonds. So who are those?
People who were given the chance to convert their bonds to treasury bills.
In other words, if I get what you're saying clearly, we are all supposed to suffer. They told us we are all in this, we are in this together.
Burden sharing.
Right?
Yeah.
But apparently, we were not in this together because some people were not in this.
Absolutely.
They didn't feel the pinch.
Absolutely. They did not give details of those who were given that opportunity to convert their bonds to treasury. In fact, how is that even possible? How is that even possible when you are calling for burden sharing and at a certain point you are telling us that even the target is not enough? How then do you allow close to, the space was around 40 billion Ghana cedis, including those who are allowed to convert their bonds to treasury bills and those who were given exemption? The finance ministry said that there were some people or some creditors who were not eligible to participate in the domestic debt exchange program and so were excluded. And as we speak now, Ben, we have about, I think, 4 or 5 loans or bonds that will be maturing just September 2023, this month. Yesterday, or 2 days ago, that was 18 September, we had 114.9 million Ghana cedis worth of bonds that matured that day. 25th, 62.8 million cedis. 28th, 284.9 million cedis. In total, just September 2023 alone, we have about 462.6 million Ghana cedis worth of bonds that are supposed to mature, and people are supposed to recoup their money, get their principals and coupons. But as it stands now, the last time that government settled that August 2023 coupons, I'm not sure they've done anything again. And the point has been made clear that the first domestic debt exchange that was done was not deep. And experts were saying that, I mean, you said the initial target was 137.
It reminds me, you know, invasive surgery. It didn't cut deeply enough. We have to cut deeper.
Absolutely. And that's where we are. Because if you don't do the first debt restructuring right, you end up doing it over and over again. There's a template for us to follow.
Right.
And that's the Jamaica template. We did not follow that template. We used our own unilateral ways to force certain things on people and say it's a take or you have to take it by all means. We are giving you this offer, whether you like it or not, you have to take it. And that's not how debt restructuring, actually works. It has to be bilateral. You need to engage.
Kofi, do you think
creditors are different?
Those in the finance ministry, and I'll be bringing in Dr. Eduanani shortly. Do you think those in the finance ministry are not aware of this? What irks me is what the likes of Eva, his Mensah, or whatever the name is, will come and rub salt, and I'll have time for that this Friday. I'll take time and dissect some of those issues. So you should wait for what is coming. But with all of these, do you think they don't know these things? You're saying they do.
Of course they know. They know.
They do.
And they know that the first DDEP that was done was shallow, but they were just in a rush to say we were successful. And if you were successful, why are you doing a reopening? It's like a doctor who is done performing a perfect surgery, tells everybody that this surgery went well, 99.99%, and comes back and say, oh, I left this apparatus or whatever tool in the person. Oh, I feel I should have cut this part this way. If you do that,
I must perform the surgery all over again.
All over again. Or there's supposed to be some second round or third round. And if you do that in the financial space, that is deadly.
Let me bring in Dr. Eduanani. He joins the conversation. We'll also be joined eventually by Professor Lord Mensah of the UG Business School. So, Doc, thank you so much for staying with us on the live. Simply put, how do you feel about this new approach by government to supposedly rope you in one more time as far as the domestic debt exchange program is concerned?
Well, I think last
Hello, Doc?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Please go ahead, sir.
Can you hear me? Okay. I think last Monday we sent a letter to the ministry and said we cannot be invited since we were exempted. That is a straightforward matter. Once exempted, you are exempted, and we don't have anything to do with this program again. The prospectus or whatever document that was issued used to issue.
All right, so Doc, we're experiencing some challenges with the connection. We're experiencing some challenges with your Zoom connection. So please hold for us. What we're going to do is we'll try to reach you on phone instead. So please bear with us so that we can have a seamless conversation. Please, just do that favor for us. Let me come back into the studio ahead of also hearing Professor Lord Mensah. Professor Godfred Bokpin has stated categorically, you are spending like left, right, center, back, forward, top, bottom, as though there were no crisis.
Yeah.
Yet you want to, like I said, heap taxes upon people, and just now you're talking about another round of a DDEP. What does that signal?
I think yesterday Professor Peter Korte also spoke at the ISE program saying that DDEP, it must not be done again, or it must not be done over and over again. Basically, he was just saying that if you have to do it, you need to do it once. But we need to tie this to the restructuring that we're talking about comes in two folds, the domestic side and the external side. We said the domestic side was successful. But mind you, the external creditors are watching what's going on in your domestic space. And I feel there's an external pressure for us to get things right, for us to cut deep within our space before we even go ahead to talk about external debt restructuring, because it's been months since we said we've had agreements in principle with China, with Paris Club.
True.
But we do not know the magnitude of haircut or the amount of restructuring or whether it will be forgiveness or whatever that these creditors are willing to.
The Chinese don't forgive.
They don't forgive. They only increase your maturity period and then increase your coupon rate as well.
Same way a bank would deal with
absolutely,
you on a loan facility.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I can't make my payments or things are really hard. Okay, so we'll reschedule.
Yes.
We may reduce it, but your tenure goes up.
Absolutely. And the same thing happened in Zambia, where external creditors were very angry. They were angry because as soon as Zambia heard about debt restructuring, the first people or the first group of people they targeted was the external side. And they said, no, we are not ready to give you that fiscal space that you need unless you go back to your domestic space.
Exactly.
It took Zambia more than a year, something that they thought they could just use 3 months or 6 months to do, because they did not do their homework, or they were asked to go back and do their homework.
In a way akin to what we started doing here. We felt within 2 months and it
we were
ended
giving
up.
people exemptions and allowing people to convert their bonds to treasury bills, where others were told that if you don't convert or if you don't participate in the restructuring, we have no other alternative. Why did you create alternative for other people to convert their bonds to are they better than those who decided to participate?
Right.
When we allow these people to go scot-free, then we'll go to Bank of Ghana and say, if you don't help us by giving us 50% haircuts, we can't meet the IMF program conditionalities. Then the Bank of Ghana also go ahead and forgive government a debt burden worth close to 40 billion Ghana cedis.
Now look at the state of the central bank.
Exactly. Yeah. So if you don't do certain things right, you end up touching certain parts that you are not supposed to touch. Because right now you've left your central bank with a negative equity. Your central bank has lost around $6 billion. And people are reading meanings into this. But if you had done things right, if you had followed due diligence, if you had been transparent and clear with creditors, all of these things would not happen. We would have had probably close to 90% or 99% participation if things were done the right way.
Obviously, there are lots of problems here. But let me come back to our guest. I'll come to you, Dr. Eduanani, but let me also acknowledge the presence of Professor Lord Mensah of the University of Ghana Business School. Prof, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Now, if you can hear me loud and clear.
I can hear you loud and clear. And
our viewers out there and co-panelists institute, and then on the other side of
all right.
The call.
Right. Just hold for me briefly. Dr. Eduanani entry was on the floor and the connection was not good. Doc, so you were talking about this purported likelihood of an invitation. Please go ahead. Dr. Eduanani entry, can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes. Your take was truncated, so please go back to what you were saying.
So we have written to the Ministry of Finance that we couldn't be included in this reopening invitation because we are an exempted group. We have demonstrated and given reason why that cannot be the case.
What are your reasons?
You see, the security issuance is like this. You have a document which you have used to issue securities. That document holds valid until the securities are paid off completely. So after you have closed the offer and after you have done the settlement, you can't go back and change anything in that document. And what we are going to experience is that there are people who were exempted, we want to bring them in. That is not right. That is irregular. And we said that we believe there was, and they didn't apply their minds to that fact that there are exempted groups and they have put us inside. So we are just drawing the attention that that's not the right thing to do. And we had a press conference on that. I think what we also explained is that once you are part of the invitation, your coupons and maturity principals that will be due within the offer period will not be paid to you. The issuer, he has that right. He cannot pay you because the issuer wouldn't know whether you are tendering in your bonds or not. So until settlement day, the issuer will not know people who did not tender in their bonds and therefore pay them. So if your name is included, you can say, I am not going to send it. But the effect is that you won't get your coupons and principals within the offer period. So if this offer continues to be extended to about 2 months, you are going to stay there within that 2 months. You won't get anything that must be paid to you until settlement day. So they don't bring us in to use it to delay the payment of coupons and maturity to rest. Fortunately, I think government has listened, government has seen that what it's intended to do was not right. Because yesterday we have started receiving payments of the due coupons and matured principals. We have 3 of them. We are monitoring 2. People have received payment in respect of 2. We believe the other other pensioners who are holding it will soon receive their coupons. So I believe the government has now realized that it was wrong.
Okay, so I understand that portion about believing that government now accepts it got it wrong, but have you been approached at all as far as this leg of the DDEP is concerned? Has there been any approach to you?
No, not whatsoever. It's like now, you put me inside, I know you are inviting me. If you start paying my due coupons and my credit cards, I know you have decided, you have abandoned your quest or your to include me in the invitation. Okay. And then we are also happy because individual bondholders who are not here, they are also receiving their coupons and principals. So we believe that means government has abandoned the idea of inviting pensioners and other individual bondholders.
Doc, okay, so just hold for me. We're still struggling with a connection. I don't know what it is, whether it's still on Zoom or via the phone line. But just hold for me. I'll come back to you. Let me bring in Professor Lord Mensah. You've heard Professor Bokpin, Professor Peter Quartey all talk about the fact that, look, as a government, you are not tightening your belt enough, yet you keep saying we're in this together. You keep heaping taxes upon the people left, right, center. And now here we are faced with another round of a domestic debt exchange program. What do you make of what you've heard so far on that beat?
True. I mean, we hear government talks about, scrapping of Article 71, 30% of the emolument and all that. I mean, clearly, we've not seen, how much the government is saving, out of this, decision. And the bigger elephant on the expenditure side that government is supposed to look at, I believe for political reasons, they're not looking at that. One of them is the Agenda 111, promise that by hook or crook, they want to deliver, to Ghanaians, and some of them being duplications of project in certain, enclave. I would say that yes, indeed, government has not, thought of, using the big elephant on the expenditure side of the balance sheet. But let's look at, how, the finance minister and his team try to regularize, debt exchange, which is not normal. Debt exchange.
You say it's not normal. Why do you think it's not abnormal?
You cannot regularize. You can't use debt exchange as as a budget operation. No, you can't do that. The reason why I'm saying this is that if you look at globally, right, all debt exchange that has happened, they don't go to the market more than twice. Usually what happens is that the first debt exchange fails, then government calls you to go and do 8 assignments very well and come back with the second one. That is it. The reason why I'm saying this is that debt exchange, in as much as it has positive, impact on the economy, there are some negative aspects to the economy as well. Let's look at you going to debt exchange and the investor confidence in your long-term bonds. Let's ask the finance minister whether the new debt, that was issued for the that was swapped with the old one. That I'm talking about the long-term debt. That the rates came to 9%, 10%, whether there has been trading on that side. Apart from the financial institutions who are dealing with long-term obligations, I don't think individuals are even interested in, and businesses are interested in those long-term bonds. So we should note that. We should note that debt exchange can reduce investor confidence. And as a result of that, we cannot operationalize it. We cannot regularize it every now and then and say we are coming to do debt exchange. After this issue, the next one, those waves of debt exchange must cease. We don't use that to manage economy. When you do that, you try to hold up certain uncertainty, in the public financial space. And we all know very well that without the flow of finance to and fro from the government instrument, this government can run down. Not this government alone. We're talking about subsequent government to come. Other than that, a lot of work needs to be done. And so we don't prolong that exchange. You do it once, and then you gradually win back the investor confidence over time so that you can tilt the yield curve. As we speak now, look at the rate of, the way treasury bills rate are going up relative to the long-term instruments that are still low. And you can't manage economy with that. Economies are not managed under inverted yield curve. If I say inverted yield curve, a situation where the long-term instruments are having, lower rate than the short-term instrument. It's never done anywhere. You do it and then find a way. We've been in that situation before. As of that time, Mr. Setekwe, who was the finance minister, that was when he coined a term called smart borrowing, where he saw that the yield curve was inverted, and as a result of that, there's pressure on the economy. And then they started looking at long-term investment, from elsewhere. Unfortunately for this government, what is happening is that the government has been blocked from the international market, so external inflows has been a problem. So the only option available is to cut down your expenditure. Cut down expenditure, the big elephants on the expenditure side of your balance sheet, which for political reasons you are not ready to do it. So you keep on carrying, debt upon debt on short-term basis, and look at, the short-term.
So in other words, the government seems to be unwilling to really tackle that issue of the external debt situation. Look at the number of months we've been talking about it. Still nothing really to show from China and the other parties, external creditors. Then you also say that, financially, economically, the things they are doing are not standard practice. They are, but why do you feel they are having to, resort to this? Just because it's sowing the seed of pain on ordinary people. And now you've heard the banks are saying we can't do this again. Pensioner bondholders are saying don't even think of it.
Yes, of course they know the economic repercussions, the financial impact on their balance sheet. You saw what happened to their balance sheet, the bank's balance sheet, last year, 2022. Most all the banks across, had a loss on their balance sheet. So effectively, it tells you that they cannot go further to absorb some of these shocks. And if a government is operating and you got to a point where you have what we call fiscal fatigue. Fiscal fatigue has set in because, one, you are not able to generate revenue as expected. Two, your tax, ability to increase your tax has also, gone down, because anytime you introduce tax, you've got into a saturated point where, your citizens tend to complain because you keep on, taxing the same, people. At the end of the day, what you need to look at is your expenditure. Look at the big elephants. Capital expenditure, which is one of the discretionary expenditures, cut them drastically. Cut it drastically, and then see how much you can save from that side. This government's operations has always been revenue, how to mobilize funds. And you see, in economic management, mobilization of funds through issuing of debt and all those, and which becomes a cycle. And when it becomes a cycle, then you are heading towards more or less a situation where if you are at a corporate level, you would have said, okay, declare bankruptcy, because your cycle of debt and how you're operationalizing it is not sustainable. Effectively, anytime government issues new debt, seem to attract higher interest. And that tells you that the investor confidence keeps on going down. And as a result of that, if for nothing at all, government, you should be wise enough to reduce your expenditure, which is the only indicator you have control over.
And it would appear, Prof, that the other indicator that they have some control over taxes, they are just heaping them on. So let me just walk you through this comment.
For taxes, we've got into a saturated point.
Right.
If you are increasing taxes and you are increasing it vertically without looking at the horizontal part of it, it becomes a problem.
And I shared, an example earlier where yesterday someone got a bill, and I was right there, of 493 cedis. Prof, the taxes were well over 100 cedis. Taxes alone.
Yeah, that's
VAT,
more than 40%. We know it. I mean,
yes.
If you want to see a typical example, you go and buy any item at ShopRite, or you buy a fuel, pick the receipt and look at it. It's more than 40%. A typical Ghanaian, on daily basis, indirect taxes, you are paying more than 40%.
So I have a comment. Godwin Ajetin Nahu says, Ben, when these guys come, okay, he's referring to yesterday's Stanbic breakfast meeting and some of the comments there about taxes. He says, here we are taxed to the neck. When they try to compare to the West, please ask them to compare the taxes we pay here. This person is in the West as well. He says, take our retail tax and compare it to the West. Take our energy tax, compare it to the West. Income tax, compare it to the West. Check the taxes on our fuel and compare it to the West. What are they talking about? Dr. Edu Ananientwi, so we've come to this point and your coupons, by and by, are getting settled. When are you expecting your next payment? And I guess since you've not been approached by the finance ministry yet, you are sitting pretty and hoping that there will be no call upon you to participate in this. But if the call came, what would be your group's reaction?
Principal that is also due. So, and other individual bondholders have also started receiving. Effectively, meaning that government has abandoned the idea of inviting pensioners and other individual bondholders to this reopening program. But this market thrives on information. If government has decided to do that, which of course by implication they have decided to do that, because if we were part, you couldn't receive your coupons and principal. But the market needs information. So if government has decided to do that, it is best for government to issue a statement and say, this reopening we have taken, it doesn't cover individual bondholders, both pensioners and non-pensioners. Then the market is calm. But if you don't announce it, not everybody will have that alert to say, well, the alert has come, so it means I've been excluded. So I plead with government to let the information flow. This market thrives on information. So let the information come. Tell the market that you have dropped the idea of including individual bondholders, be it pensioners or non-pensioners. You have dropped the idea of including them in this scheme. Then the market will get some.
So in other words, you are waiting for a categorical statement from the finance ministry, clarifying from government, clarifying that individual bondholders in this next batch, you are still exempted. You will not be brought on board.
It is for the sake of market. The market needs information. So you don't do things and keep it to yourself, and for us to analyze and say by implication you have dropped that idea, you have abandoned that idea. No, it should not be by implication. By implication, you have dropped, but let the market get that information that you have abandoned the idea of roping in all individuals, whether they are pensioners or non-pensioners. And as a result, you have started paying them their coupons that are due and matured bonds. So that the market, we have to build back this market confidence. And when we introduce all these things into the market, we are taking completely down the confidence in the market, which we should be rebuilding.
All right. Thank you, Doc. Thank you so much for joining the conversation and sharing with us the insights you have. Definitely, he is saying government, rather than sit pretty and say, oh, by implication, because we're paying you your coupons and all of that, you are exempted. Government should come out, the finance ministry should come out and say categorically, individual bondholders, especially as the pensioner bondholders, you are not a part of this, to send a signal to the market. Prof, to conclude with you, that market confidence seems to have been eroded. I've had a number of conversations with people this week, and some of them are very concerned about this second round, from the banking sector to others. That market confidence, where does it stand now, and what should government be doing? And finally, you do know that some, like has been mentioned, we had a conversion of bonds to treasury bills for some people before the debt exchange program struck, which would mean that, in other words, we are not in this together. A select few, whatever the number, faceless individuals got to convert. We know people in power are also bondholders. So how do you feel about that situation? Hello, Doc. Prof, you'd have to unmute. You have to unmute.
Yeah, so first of all, the market confidence is completely down. Now, let's look at what will bring down the market confidence. One is the way we've handled the debt exchange. This debt exchange is not something that you can use or you can regularize it for economic management. You can't do that. That is why all over, any time a country is going through difficulty, debt exchanges are announced once, maximum twice. Usually the first one is more or less a failure, but the government may not get the buy-in of the people. And as a result of that, they go back, do the assignment, and come and issue a new one, which the people get to buy it. And then it goes on. And it goes on once and for all. Because government wants to have an advantage of reducing the burden on its balance sheet. By so doing, it has its own way of also reducing investor confidence. So you don't operationalize it and then keep on announcing it every now and then. I'm going through the debt exchange. At this time, we would have stop it and then look at how we can build back the investor confidence. That's why I mentioned earlier that at this time we should have had our yield curve correcting itself. And I was asking whether the government knows whether the bonds that were issued, the new bonds that were swapped, are people interested in it? That was the question I was asking. If people are not interested in it, it tells you that yes, the confidence is still not there. And as a result of that, whatever instrument you issue, it's going to attract higher rates. Of course, we're talking about risk-return trade-off situation here. If you want to know whether the investor confidence is low or high, look at treasury bills. Anytime government goes on the market to issue treasury bills, they seem to attract higher rate. Treasury bill rate keeps on going up. Effectively, it tells you that the confidence is down. Government is struggling to attract money from individuals and businesses. And so they have to do their assignment well. In the public sector, it is difficult to measure risk.
Right.
We, in applied economics and finance, we usually proxy it. And one of the proxies, right, as we speak now in this country, is the finance minister's position, and then how he's trying to regularize, debt exchange. It's not something that you have to operationalize in managing economy. You go to the market once, you announce it, you come back, and then you use the time, correct, the system. You use the time, make sure that the investor confidence is won back.
Right.
Because government cannot run its budget without the people's investment.
So, Prof, we've run out of time.
The second one,
we've run out of time, so you have to do this very briefly for me on the second point.
Okay, so the second point, which you talk about the debts, and the treasury bill swap by few people, those who matter in the space. From where I sit, it's a bad practice. Because you cannot do selective kind of economic management, where if you're doing debt exchange, you select few people or few businesses and you change, their position. So it's a bad thing to do, and that in itself has a way of dampening the spirit of a typical Ghanaian investor.
Prof, we're so grateful that you took the time to join us. Thank you so much for your time. Kofi, you have the final words.
Yeah. So whilst you were speaking, I was doing this illustration to demonstrate how we are actually performing our DDP. It's like we have a tank of water that we want to get rid of. We've opened a tap somewhere that it should go away, but we are filling it elsewhere with additional water. So we are doing DDP for us to get rid of our debt. We are also borrowing heavily from the treasury bill market. So what's happening is that government did that DDP somewhere, February. But if you look at the debt that has been accumulated just between February and April, it's around 7 billion Ghana cedis. So you are getting rid of the debt, but you are also adding more probably from the treasury bill market and other markets. But I am not surprised that government is doing this second round or third round. In the exchange memorandum, they state this clearly. And it says that this is the first exchange. It says treasury bills issued by the Republic and are certainly non-marketable securities are certainly not part of this exchange. And it says that such treasury bills and non-marketable securities may, however, be the subject of other exchanges and purchases by the Bank of Ghana, or by the government of Ghana from time to time.
I clearly remember we had a conversation.
Exactly, it is here. So people should not be surprised. If you sign on to the DDEP program, you should know that there is this clause in the Memorandum of Understanding that says that those who are buying treasury bills, you may not be part of this exchange, but you may be part of other exchanges. And this should even tell you that government is not hoping to do the DDEP once. There could be other DDEPs on the way. So I think this will.
Isaac Kofi Ajay, this one, we'll have more to say on this in in the other conversations. Isaac Kofi Ajay is a senior data analyst. I've added senior to him today. He's a top shutter. We also had Dr. Edu Anani Entry, convener, Pensioner Bondholders Forum, and Professor Lord Mensah of the University of Ghana Business School. Stay with us on the AM show. Still to come, we're going to be contemplating something on the political terrain, the latest Global Info Analytics survey, pointing to the dynamics as the MPP heads to that election of a flag bearer come November the 4th. What can we expect? What are the dynamics? That conversation up next on the AM show. Welcome back on the AM show. We talk politics now, and we have two gentlemen in the studio, an academic and a researcher who are going to be helping us walk through this latest survey as far as the Global Info Analytics is concerned. Now, the latest survey puts things in a certain picture, a certain frame when it comes to what now has appeared to be the leading contenders aspiring to become flag bearer of the MPP. I'm talking about Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia. I'm talking about Kennedy Ohene Ejapong. Well, joining us in the studio, we have Musa Dankwa, Executive Director, Info Analytics. Musa, good morning.
Good morning to you.
Great. We also have Dr. Bernard Tutubuahene, Lecturer, Political Marketing, University of Education, Winneba. I hear there's some Skelele nickname in there. Is that your... that's just by this. I hear
we'll talk about that one.
We'll talk about it anyway. So let's get into this conversation. So when it comes to the latest report you have, okay, the poll reveals that the dynamics are shifting somewhat when it comes to Dr. Bawumia, Kennedy Ejapong. Yes. They are losing ground on some fronts, and we do not know whether that is attributable to Alan Kyerematen getting out of the race. Of course, with his withdrawal, there are his supporters who will now have to either go left or right. What's the latest? Share with us.
Right. The latest poll we have suggests that
Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia still in the lead with 45% of support among delegates, grassroots.
Okay.
This after Alan had withdrawn. But before the withdrawal, on the 5th, Bawumia had led 49%.
49%?
Yes. Meaning that between the 5th and the 10th, when Alan withdrew, he's lost actually about 4% of support. And Kennedy, who was earlier on 21%, before Alan withdrew, also dropped to 18% now. What we've seen is a dramatic shift in the number of people who are saying they will not disclose who they want to vote for to us. It was 12% on the 5th September. It's now gone to 17%, up about 5%.
That is those who are undecided.
No.
Those who will not disclose.
Yes, they know, but they won't tell us. Yes, but they won't.
17%?
Yes, now, 17%. Right. And then those who said they were undecided, they were 11% before Alan stood down. Now 20%, up 9%. So there has been a movement from Alan's camp and even Bawumia's camp to those who are saying undisclosed or they won't tell us.
So that's interesting. Why do you think this is happening?
It's very difficult to tell because I think it reinforces the fact that there are some people who are unease about really telling us what their true intentions are. When you talk to them on the phone, they don't know which camp you belong to. Sometimes they think that you are not independent, that you want to find out who they want to vote for, and that if they are known to be voting for A or B, that could have a consequence. So you've seen people shifting from actually voting for some candidates into a corner of undisclosed or undecided.
Why, though? When I look at your gender, equation, you have 21% being female and a whopping 79% being male. Why is that?
That's the party structure. That's the structure of the delegate of MPP. Even NDC, the same thing.
Oh, so you're adhering strictly to
absolutely the sample of the delegates in MPP, the album.
Oh, that's an interesting one.
Yes, it's the same for NDC as well. Mostly men dominated.
Dr. Tutubori, so you followed these surveys over the last, over a year now? Yeah. Okay, and you've seen the trajectory. And I remember some of those that revealed that, at a point Alan was in the lead, yes. Dr. Bawumia following, at a point Dr. Bawumia came up. And I think the last few months, before we really got into this, Alan was still in a small lead before Dr. Bawumia took over. But now, Alan Trabating is out of the competition, and some interesting dynamics are playing here.
Let me just interject that those numbers were not delegates.
Okay, of course, that was the general
vote.
These were samples.
Yes, but this particular one is delegates.
Okay. So with the delegates and what is happening now, of course, we've seen what the superdelegates contest led to. What is your reading so far?
So, good morning to viewers. You see, the initial, survey, we realized that with the delegates, Dr. Bawumia was leading. But I think there was another one which talks about, the grassroots voter, where obviously we saw in the data that Alan was on the lead from, the national voter side. I think that was the issue, yeah. Now, that suggests that Alan was more solid on the ground as compared to, Dr. Bawumia, who was more popular within the party ranks. Now, remember I said that MPP going forward with the breaking the 8 and all that, they should focus on a candidate who could win the national elections, and who is more popular with the national voter. Now, so for me, these are some of the reflections in here. I presume that there are certain, delegates, who are equally national voters, because the set will tell you that. And we suggest that those people may constitute that 30-something percent, yes, the 37%.
37%.
Yeah,
right.
Which include the non-disclosures and then the undecided. All right. Now, that tells you that if probably, based on an initial assumption that if Alan had stayed in the race, then of course there would be the possibility of him getting above 30%.
Okay.
All right. Now, within the delegates. Now, that suggests that that could have even pulled the 45% down further, to Alan's camp.
Okay.
Or probably to Ken Japon's camp. Right. Now, so you will see that the dynamics have actually evolved. And that is what the data is telling us. That yes, Alan may be gone. He has withdrawn. But his brand still has effects.
Let me quickly bring in Musa on this. I'll come back to you. What does this show then? Does it show, was Alan's withdrawal premature? Per this survey, does it reveal that maybe if he had stayed, his fortunes would have been better?
I think so. Because when you speak to delegates directly over the phone and the choices they make, even though when they say they are undisclosed or undecided, the preamble before telling you that gives you a hint of where they will likely go. So Alan numbers were grossly underestimated in the polls.
So in other words, of course, the super delegates were just a microcosm of the national picture, about 1% or so of the national picture. So you are basically saying that, because there were 2,000 and we're looking at about 200,000, okay?
Yep.
Which means then that at the national level, things could have actually turned on its head.
Yes.
On their head.
Yes. Yes. What we've seen from the evidence so far suggests that there's no correlation between the superdelegates and the grassroots.
Wow. I see something interesting though. I mean, when it comes to those you sampled from, if you look at the delegates, in terms of education, you look at the strata, those in junior high or graduates from junior high are a startling 41%. Senior high, 28%, and it keeps reducing. Tertiary, 16%. No education, 15%. How does this impact the responses maybe that we're getting?
It tells you that most of the delegates are very, very ordinary people, grassroots. No big English, just common understanding of issues. No sophistication. So when you speak to them, in fact, they speak to you mostly in Akan language or their local languages. And they make known to you how they feel. And they dominate the MPP delegates. So that is the reason why we are saying that the understanding of the superdelegate and what may happen in the grassroots could be completely different. Because the people at the lower level are ordinary people who face the same situations everybody faces on the street today.
Doc, let me come back to you. Do you also feel the same way, that maybe Alan's withdrawal was ill-timed, maybe premature, on the face of the data we're looking at?
Yes, I think that, yes. I wouldn't say it was premature. Probably a lot of...
Or maybe too hasty.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't say that. Then that becomes behavioral.
Okay.
All right. But he works with a team. And so at the end of the day, the team probably may want to decide what is best for him. And when you look at the personality of Alan, he's somebody who really doesn't appreciate violence in politics. All right. So anytime that people are going to suffer based on his interest, his political interest, I think that he doesn't really enjoy that. And so probably that has informed previous or past decisions and even this current decision.
And that has been brought up because people say he's always, he has a pattern of always stepping aside. And,
yes.
And some of his supporters were infuriated, so to speak, with that decision.
Yes, so I think that people really don't understand his personality. All right. But you see, in politics, people are violent and they can even kill for their interest. But I don't think that Alan has that kind of, personality, to move him into that kind of, politics that he is. But so I wouldn't say that it was premature, all right? Probably the calculation that went into it wasn't that sophisticated enough, to probably say that let's hang in and see what the delegates, at the grassroots have for us. Probably certain, contacts were also not made, to suggest all these things. But I see with the issue of education here, obviously when you check, as Mensah had said, you will see that a lot of people who are into grassroots politics are not people who are highly educated. I mean, people complete tertiary and they want to get white-collar jobs, and all that. It is even in recent times that we've seen some graduates, moving in there. Else, a lot of our politicians, they get into politics before they pursue, higher education. So that even tells you the trend that we are seeing now. Apart from the basic understanding of politics and all that, I feel that, you see, when it comes to service of this nature, it has educational levels doesn't really have so much, influence, on the decisions of people, because whether you're educated or not, you still will form a decision of voting and the intention of who to vote for.
Right.
So those ones are just in there. So I think that, yes, it reflects because of the, population within the different cohorts.
Okay. Let me come back to you, Mensah. When you look at this latest survey, the report, and what it reveals, Alan has withdrawn. It's now, some say, a straight fight between Dr. Bawumia and Kennedy Agyapong. But the so-called floating votes from Alan, and now the rise in those who decided not to disclose their vote. If you perform the analysis, who is going to likely be the bigger casualty in terms of losing votes in the election come November 4, and who likely will benefit from the withdrawal of Alan Kyerematen?
See, because we have two frontrunners now, from what we have seen.
And I just want you to speak to the data, what it's showing.
You can see that Alan's withdrawal has cost Bawumia some 4% compared to when he was in the race. It's cost Kennedy to some numbers. But what we are seeing now is a momentum which is on the Kennedy side in terms of overall impression nationally. Now, with time that he has, if that momentum continues, it could start to feed into delegates. If it feeds into delegate, then he may spring up a surprise. But the problem is that anybody who will win will depend on how he performs among Alan's delegates. If Bawumia is able to win a third of Alan delegates, then he could win the race one-off. But if he performs below that, around 20%, then he's unlikely to win. If about 80% goes to Kennedy, then Kennedy could spring a surprise. And also, those who are undecided or undisclosed, we think they are mostly anti-establishment, and that's what the danger for Bawumia is.
So there is a certain window,
yes,
for a certain Kennedy Agyapong.
Yes, and also a certain window for Dr. Bawumia, depending on how he does among those who prefer Alan but don't like Kennedy.
Okay, let's also look at this crucial point. There was a question you asked. Do you believe that Alan's withdrawal from the race will affect MPP's chances in 2024? Looking at the bigger picture.
Yes.
Now, it makes for interesting reading because for those who believe Alan's withdrawal will affect the fortunes of the MPP, 55%.
Yeah.
Then those who say no, 37%. And then those who have no opinion or refused to share, 8%. But my concern is the 55% who say that because Alan has withdrawn, it's going to affect the chances of the MPP in election 2024.
Yes, they are saying so because they know it will have impact on turnout. There are ardent Alanites that may not vote because it's not in the race if it doesn't contest. But if it shows up in a different form, those guys may come out and vote differently. So it will have the impact on the dynamics of the race, especially in the Akani areas. Very significant.
Wow. Well, I'm sure with further surveys, we'll be able to get a better understanding of those issues. But to cap off the conversation, I would like us to look at this new dynamic, which, though unconfirmed, even the major papers have brought up, have spoken about, so to speak. It has to do with Alan Chebating supposedly teaming up with Kobina Greenstreet, Ivo Kobina Greenstreet, former flag bearer of the CPP. It's not been confirmed, but major papers have carried it, spoken extensively about it. What would that mean for Alan, for the elections in 2024? I mean, what's your summary? And the same question for you, Doc, as well.
Right. These are my initial thoughts. If Bawumia becomes the flag bearer for MPP and Alan goes as an independent, we expect MPP's vote to be cut by a third.
Repeat that.
If Alan goes as independent alongside Bawumia,
right,
as MPP candidate, we expect MPP to drop by at least 20%.
Wow. 20%?
Yes.
You know, elections in this country, we keep saying that both major parties, NPP and NDC, have more or less about 40%, and they struggle for 20%. So if, by and large, the ruling party is going to lose, give or take, 20%, plus or minus.
Absolutely.
That could basically mean a fatality
yes.
in the election.
Yes. And the numbers we've seen from our test model suggest that if Kennedy rather is the candidate, then MPP doesn't lose much vote to Alan.
Wow.
You know why?
Why?
There is higher enthusiasm among Kennedy supporters to vote if he is the candidate. They are a sole or a single issue voter. They are voting just because of Kennedy. If it's not in the race, the turnout for them will go lower. We've seen the number showing that when he's in the race, people who said someone else I will not vote completely diminish among MPP supporters.
Interesting dynamics. Your take on that as we conclude?
I would like to pick the issues with Greenstreet, right? Okay. I think that it's still a speculation, but as
a speculation that the papers have carried, so it carries some weight. It's not happened, but we're discussing it ahead of time.
I think that even the Alan team responded
right
in one of the newspapers suggesting that it is not true.
Right.
Now, again, you see, when you look at the initial question that we asked Musa, about the statistics, yes, you will see that some people voted, based on establishment issues, probably protecting their interest, that is in the super delegate issues. But what it means is that November 4th could have been a very deciding factor where people can probably deviate, from their fears. All right. So that is why it was even necessary, for decisions to have been taken to see that yes, Alan can make an impact, in November 4th. Now, you mentioned the 20% drop. That is, for me, is even on the high side. All right. Now, assuming that we are even using the voter register for 2020, which was 17.1 million, and we are calculating a 1% out of it, or 5% out of it, look at what MPP is going to lose. And this is where I call on the leadership of the MPP, to see, because it is the reservation that Alan has is not limited to him alone. Okay, a similar issue is affecting this man. What's the name? Ajako. A similar issue is also affecting.
So I just did the math on what you said. Yes. Even if it's 5%, right, of 17.1 million, that's 850,000 votes.
And in 2000, the second round, 40,000 was what was used to decide who was elected as the president. That is the second round contest between Nana Akufo-Addo and...
no, you mentioned 2000.
That's 2008.
No, I said 2008.
Okay, all right.
Okay. You see, so that 40,000, so 85,000 is huge. That
the time
yes
vote.
So if if Alan is going with just 5%, you can imagine what will happen.
Wow, that's also an interesting.
There's a point of correction. The drop of 20%. I mean, within those who said they are MPP, when you throw in Alan, Alan scatter the MPP vote among MPP supporters.
Okay.
It is 20% of that.
Okay.
So that's not nationally, but just within MPP.
Yeah.
Right. Yes.
So, and I think that my distance was on the national.
Okay.
But even 20% of 203,000.
So we can easily do that very quickly. What percentage? 20%.
Yes.
All right. So that would be.
I think it's about 200 and. Let me get the right.
So that's about 40,000.
Yes, that's also huge.
40,000.
Yes. So, if this 40,000, right, will decide that yes, we are not going to the left, but we are going to the right. Obviously, the right is going to benefit.
Someone is going to bleed.
Yes.
Anyway, thank you, gentlemen, for having joined the conversation, and we'll look forward to further surveys and reports
Starting
that come.
this week, Friday.
Starting this week, Friday. Yes. We'll look forward to that. We'll see how the dynamics pan out ahead of November the 4th. Those who joined us for this conversation, Musa Dankwa, Executive Director, Global Info Analytics, and then Dr. Bernard Tutubuahin, Lecturer Political Marketing, University of Education, Winneba. Thank you so much for joining the conversation. Do stay with us. We'll be back with more. Welcome back on the AM show. We have a conversation with Espat Pharmacy, and they have taken delivery of some products they'd like to talk about. And joining us, the PRO for Espat Pharmacy, Doreen Ofori Ejapoma. Doreen, good morning.
Good morning, Ben.
Good to have you on the AM show this morning. I hope you're well.
I'm good. Yourself?
I'm okay. So you have some products that you'd like to tell us about: Sedem Acne soap and whitening soap as well.
Yeah.
When did you take delivery of these new products? Has it been long?
Yeah, it's been in town for like a year or two.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's been in the system for some time now. Yep. So we'll talk about the Sedem whitening soap.
So that's the product.
That's the product, and
Okay.
the Sedem anti-acne soap.
Hold them up so we
like
can.
that. So
Okay.
this is our product that we are launching. We want everybody to know about our product. So today I'll talk about the ingredients that it's made of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because obviously, you know, when we talk of whitening soaps, for example, people have concerns about the ingredients and all of that. So walk us
Exactly.
through.
So most of the times when people hear of the Sedem whitening soap, they think maybe it bleaches or it tones the skin, but no, it's just a brand name.
Okay.
Yeah, it's heavily made, imported from Switzerland. So you don't have no problem thinking it's going to bleach you. Rather, it's going to help you get a radiant and glowing skin. Our products are made of sodium palmate. It has tocopherol, that's the same as vitamin E, and it has a bit of Dead Sea salt. So it's all heavily made, and it's approved by FDA. So the sodium palmate, it clears oil deposits and dead stuff
Cells, dead
from
cells.
your face to help you achieve a very good and glowing skin. Yes.
Okay.
And
then tell us about the acne
yeah.
one as well.
This
The acne
is
soap.
specifically made for those suffering from acne. So it clears acne. Before you bath, you'd apply it on your face for like 5 minutes, then you take your shower. Yeah, that's what the Sedum anti-acne soap does to the face.
Okay, I'm sure for those, because there are different skin types. I for example, I have sensitive skin, so I limit myself to. There are some soaps that when I use, I react to. I limit myself.
Okay.
Are these products good for all skin types?
Yeah, all skin types. All skin types. Both the Sedum whitening soap and the Sedum anti-acne soap for all skin types. As I said, it doesn't bleach. Okay. And it's good for sensitive skins as well. If you're, there are some people when they are done bathing their skin, they itch and all that. Our soap is perfect for your skin. It doesn't give you any side effects or that kind of thing. So it's good for the skin.
These products that you are displaying today, how different are they? What makes them stand out from other products on the market? And again, I mean, we've spoken about different skin types and then people like me with sensitive skin.
Yeah.
But how about children? They have super delicate skin. How about children?
So as I said, our product has been approved by 6 dermatologists from Switzerland. And when we brought it to Ghana, FDA has approved of it. Kids can use it as well. Anybody at all can use it as well. I use it myself. So you can see my skin as I'm glowing. And it has no harsh ingredients like hydroquinone or any.
I was just about to get there. No hydroquinone in it.
There's none in our product. It's free from. So the ingredients are very calm on the skin. It's not harsh. Yes. So you don't have any problem of getting any side effects when you use our product.
So you mentioned some of the ingredients earlier.
Yeah.
Can you just? Yeah. I'm sure some people may want to hear them.
Yeah.
Again.
It has sodium palmate. And it helps to take away dead cells from your skin, oil deposits and all that. It has tocopherol, that's the same as vitamin E. And our active ingredients as Dead Sea salt, which is very good for the skin. Yes. And one thing about our product is it has exfoliating scrub in it. So when you use our soap, there's no need for you to exfoliate your skin. So it's literally like a 2-in-1 kind of thing. When you buy
soap and exfoliator at the same time.
So you see the brown thing in our soap like that. That's the exfoliating scrub in our soap. And as anybody at all, you have to exfoliate your skin once in a while to achieve a very radiant skin. So whilst you use our soap, there's no need for you to exfoliate your skin. Yeah.
You know, what's interesting is because of my line of work, from time to time you will go for a facial. I have a scrub at home which is coffee based. Because we do makeup as well. So we also have to exfoliate.
So once you have a Sedum whitening soap, you are good to go. There's no need for you to exfoliate before you wait, take your shower. It has we have the exfoliating scrub right in the soap. Yep.
Okay. So beyond all of these, what would you say generally? What are the benefits for anyone who makes this purchase in terms of their skin? What can they look forward to? You just said that you are glowing because you use the soap.
Yeah,
what can
it
they
makes
expect?
you look younger, 10 years younger. It makes you beautiful. It makes your skin glowing. It doesn't bleach. It doesn't bleach. It makes your skin very smooth. And as I said, exfoliating your skin is very important. Very, very important. So you need the Sedum whitening soap to make your skin glow.
All right, so Expert Pharmacy coming through with these products.
And we are running a promo. So if you buy more than 10 of our products, you get free souvenirs. We have free shirts and a whole lot of souvenirs. So we are running a promo now. And our products, you can get it across Ghana. It's available in most pharmacies and cosmetic shops.
Okay. But would you like to share, do you have a website? Do you have on social media, pages people can go to, phone number? Where are you located? Let's start with that. Where are you located?
As I said, you can get our product across Ghana, but then I'll give out our hotline so you can call. But
some may want to retail it.
Yeah, we do retailing and wholesaling as well.
Okay.
And if you are in Accra, you can, when you come to Accra Drug Lane and you ask for Jucard Pharmacy, you'd get our product, Case Umwa & Sons. Our product is there, Dove Pharmacy, and all Tema Top Up Pharmacy outlets. Our products are available.
Top Up, I've seen them.
Yep. And those in Ashaiman can go to Echo's Pharmacy. Yep. So our hotline is 024 024-341-2951.
Can you repeat that?
024-341-2951.
Last time. I want people to get this. Take your time a bit as you say it.
024-341-2951. That's a hotline. So when you call, we'll direct you to where you can get some in your region. Yes.
All right. Any final words before you leave us?
Come again?
Any final words before you leave us?
If you what?
Any final words?
Okay. So I would encourage the public to use our product because most of the times people think that using expensive lotions are going to get you a very beautiful skin, but most importantly, you're supposed to get a good soap like Sedum Whitening Soap and the Sedum Anti-Acne Soap to clear all skin problems.
All right. So if you have any issues with your skin, that's the solution that has just been proffered for you, courtesy of Expat Pharmacy. So Sedum Whitening Soap, Sedum Acne Soap, contains no hydroquinone, which would bleach your skin. It contains elements that will actually enhance your skin. I've been interacting with the PRO of Expat Pharmacy, Doreen Ofori Ejapoma. On that note, we take another breather. We'll return with more action on the AM show. Do stay.
If you have a dream of being a model, this conversation should interest you. And this morning I've been joined by Stella Labi. She is the CEO of Stella Management and the producer and host of Africa's Model Scout. And it's good to have you here. And I was just having a chit-chat with her, whether she was a model herself. Aww. And she says, no, she just loves the background work.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So how long have you been in this industry?
Goodness, I've been in this industry for over 30 years.
Okay.
Yeah, a long time. A long time.
All right. And what would you say has been the challenges for young Ghanaians who want to enter the industry? I mean, we hear about it all over the world, what it's like, rigorous. Yes. You even hear people talk about how they even monitored to the minutest details of their lives, what they eat, because it's going to affect their outlook, their skin tone, their physique, their weight and all that. Yeah. But just tell me what you think about the industry in Ghana.
Well, I think the industry is, how should I say that? I think we need to push the industry much more in Ghana, and I think we need to push it on the international ebony. I think we have extremely talented, not just models, but talents here. And I think we just don't get the credit. Our things are used in Europe and in America, and we get no credit for it. So I think that we need to, we need to
push it better.
We need to push it
And that's
better,
why you're doing this.
That's what I'd
Africa
like
Model
to do.
Scout. All right. So tell us about this. What is it going to look like? I guess going to be like a reality show, but just run us through the concept and how it's going to pan out.
Sure, I'd love to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a casting. So I'm going to scout. I hope that a lot of people show up for the casting because you just never know. You really don't know. A model is not what people think a model is. And so we'll have a casting. I have a lot of international specialists in this field who are going to be joining me. I will select 10 contestants. And then those 10 will move into a home where we will spend a few weeks and we'll go from episode 1, episode 2 up until 8 episodes till end of the season. And the last one standing will win a huge prize. The winner gets an agency contract with Boss Model Agency in South Africa. I've worked with them for years. I have had a lot of talents that they represented, and they're extremely good also internationally. The winner also wins a bit of money. I'm not going to disclose how much yet. And a lot of training. Everybody comes away with something learned. And that, I think that's my biggest wish, you know.
Right. So, I mean, you had a stint with modeling, but you just referenced a South African agency that you've been working with. You mentioned, you know, some of the highlights of your 30-year career.
Well, I mean, I'm more in management. I've been representing models. I manage, you know, the models and the talent. So I just, years ago, I started as a model in Switzerland, and I was very short time. And I was just always very interested in the other side of modeling, like behind the scenes, and how are the girls feeling, and do we have everything to make them comfortable, and are they being exploited, and all these things were very, you know, close to my heart. So I ended up very quickly a model booker in Europe, and then started my own agency.
Right, okay, so this is an interesting one there for all of you who love the concept of modeling and would like to be a part of this. Stella will just be telling us how you can do that.
Absolutely. Please go on our social media. First of all, and then we have a casting call. Please come. It's going to be on Sunday at 10 o'clock at Mövenpick. And all the details, if you'd like to precast, and we are precasting, send an email to africasmodelscout@gmail.com. Go to our social media, Instagram at modelscout.com, and all the information is there.
Will be there, definitely. Because I had the ad on Joy, and I know that there are some specifications we're looking at for.
Yes.
And so that you don't get disappointed. I mean, having to come all the way to Mövenpick.
Yes.
You need to be of a certain height.
Yes.
Which is standard.
171. Yes.
1.71.
Yes.
Yes. So I don't qualify naturally. This is a natural selection process. I have disqualified myself. Yeah. But we want to do that so that you don't have to come all the way there and be disappointed. So just get onto the Facebook page of Africa's Model Scout on Facebook and Instagram. Just learn of all the details, the specifications, and then you can meet Stella and her team at Mövenpick on
Sunday.
On Sunday at 10 a.m.
At 10 a.m. The casting starts at 10. Yes.
Right.
Be there, try.
I just want to give whoever is watching us a bit of an advantage. I know that you are the producer, so you may not want to do that, but I'm just going to ask a bit of advice, and that's your benefit for watching us on the AM show this morning.
Okay,
you know,
fair enough.
What should they look out for beyond the looks? What should they be coming with in presenting their A game?
First, be yourself. I think that's so very important. There is no, it's not about what makeup you're wearing or you know, don't
overdo
yourself.
it.
Don't overdo it. Be yourself. Let your pure person come out, because that's the only way we can scout. You know, you can, that's it. What should I say? Come in time.
Yeah.
Get some rest before you come. You know, try and just be a little rested so you're not so nervous, and just talk to me. Just be yourself. And I'm just so looking forward to seeing everybody. You know, come and you. Everybody has a chance. If you're 171 and over, you have a chance. So, come.
Right. And so this is as interesting as it gets. Nothing like this in a long time. I mean, we know how it gets, and it's quite a tough industry.
Yeah.
If you're someone who follows the modeling industry, even across the world, you know that it's not an easy place to survive. But Stella has the experience. 30 years she's been doing this, so you can trust her. And for you parents who are wondering if you can trust Stella with your words, because you're looking at what age and above?
18
and above.
18.
And some parents are a bit, you know, Nervy, when it comes to that. She has the experience. She's worked the world over, and so you can trust her to take care of your young girls. This is for girls now, for starters.
This is just for girls, yes, to start, yes, yeah, it's a family. It's a family. Whoever gets casted, we will grow together. We will learn, and hopefully come out better than we went in.
Should they expect? You're all smiley now, but I'm just picturing all the model shows I've watched across the world, and there are times when, just for the sake of the prospective model themselves, you have to be hard and firm. And what are we going to see? What is likely going to be happening with the grooming and getting them ready for the world?
Thanks for asking. I'm myself. I'm not, I'm not very good at pretending, but I am kind, so it's not going to be, there's no exploitation. We're not trying to, I don't want anybody to look silly or bad. It really is about learning the process and seeing if you have what it takes to be in an international agency and do all the things. There's castings, there is Polaroids, there is, it's can you do it, And it's a lot of work. It's hard work. I know people think that modeling is, you just
catwalking.
It's a lot of hard work, and you have to be cut out of a cloth. Like, you have to really persist and really want to go for it. And this is why something like this is good, because if you make it to the end of this competition, you'll be good. You'll be good in Europe. You'll be
Interesting. We look forward to joining you on this journey with the girls.
Oh, me
too. Do they have to make any payments when they come to Mervyn Peak?
Absolutely not.
All right, so that's important.
No.
So if you meet anybody around the Mervyn Peak area who's saying, are you coming for that? Oh, you need to please know they are lying. They're just taking advantage of you, because you're paying absolutely nothing. Just find your way, get to Mervyn Peak, ask for where the Africa's Model Scout is happening, and you'll be directed. You don't have to pay anything. It's important we say this, because we know that people take advantage of people, and they may make certain promises and tell you that, they know Stella, and please avoid all that.
Yeah, there is no money involved whatsoever, and there are no pre-casting people, and there are no, it really is the one day that we're casting.
So please don't fall victim to anybody who would want to take advantage of you. So lastly, I'd just like for you to tell us how we join you on this journey. How do we follow it? Where will we be privileged to be viewing all of this?
Oh my gosh, I'm very honored that we're going to be airing on Joy Prime. First episode should be airing sometime in December. Don't even know if I'm allowed to say that yet. And season 1 to season 8, just watch it. It will be an amazing ride, and I'm so proud to be able to showcase home talent on the international level. I'm very proud, and I hope you join me on this.
So if you've been looking for that big moment as a young girl who loves modeling, who wants to be in the industry, trust me, this is it. And Stella Labi has it all. She's thought about this thoroughly. She's bringing together a team of people who are experts in this industry, and they're just going to help you. You need to make yourself available first, and that's why she's hoping to meet you. She said, don't sit at home. If you sit at home, you can never tell what will happen. Take the chance. Make a move. So on Sunday at 10 a.m., we'll see you at Mervyn Peak. And for those of you who love to follow reality shows like this, just be looking out on Joy Prime. We will let you see all the details on our ads when they're ready to go. You know how we do it here. We'll let you in on all that information. So if you know somebody, call the person, ask them if they know about this, because we have friends we know who like to model. They may not have seen this themselves. So do them that favor and let them be aware. And Stella has promised us that this is not like what you hear around. There's no exploitation. There is no disrespect to who you are. It's just about finding the right talent and showcasing Ghana. Right? We're all about that, and I've been seeing that a lot now on the international scene, and it's just beautiful, isn't it?
It's absolutely beautiful, and as I said, I'm so honored and so happy to be able to do this, and I'm very excited.
All right, we are excited. We can't wait. All right, so we've got our fingers crossed, and we wish you all the best, Stella. Stella Labi, CEO of Stella Management and producer and host of Africa's Model Scout, which will be happening or airing on Joy Prime. The scouting begins on Sunday at 10 a.m. at Mervyn Peak, so please find your way there. Don't pay a dime for anything. Just see Stella and her team, and don't forget the advice. Just be yourself. Come in. You know, just project who you are naturally. It's not about the makeup and all the wishy-washy things. It's just about who you are and your potential. Let me say thank you once again for doing this. Hopefully we'll see you again when you're ready to air, right?
Absolutely.
All right.
And thank you so much for having me.
All right. Always a pleasure. Right. So thank you for doing the watching. Benjamin and I will be back shortly to get interactive with you. Stay tuned in. Guess who's back? Benjamin Akakpo.
Yours truly. I'm back.
Hi, great to have you.
Black and red combo is...
Yeah. I like what you're doing
rocking.
with the shades of blue.
Oh, yeah. Blue and white are my favorite colors.
Oh, they
So if you see a bias in my wardrobe when it comes to blue especially, it's because it's one of my favorite colors, different shades of blue.
And now I know if I'm getting a gift for you, I know what to get to your heart.
Yeah.
All right, okay, so it's time to get interactive with you, and we've been doing a lot today, talking about the domestic
debt exchange program, banks,
and what is turning out
pensioner bondholders and everything in between.
And also the NPP's internal elections, and whether we're going to see a runoff in November or not.
Time will tell, but the statistics point to the fact that Alan's departure has effects on both candidates, the top two from the superdelegates bid. But the impact moving forward and the likelihood of that impacting the election proper in 2024, that's where the main concern is.
This is your election headquarters, and you know no one does it better than we do. So you want to stay with us for all the analysis as we look forward to the 2024 elections. But this is the time where you have to get to have your say. The numbers to call are on your screen. Please, when you call us, just go straight to the point. We've got very little time, but we want to hear as many of you as time will permit. So, I mean, Benjamin, I just couldn't help but see what's on the front page of the Custodian. I'll support whoever wins November 4. And that's one of the contestants in the NPP flag bearer. And Dr. Baumia also says, I don't attack my opponents. It is a contest of ideas, not insults.
Okay.
Interesting. I can have a feeling I know who this is directed at, but I'm not going to say. It's for you to also determine. Any calls coming through? 0302-211-691, 0302-211-691.
Something I read this morning that, every morning for the news review, Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic sponsors it.
Yeah.
And then today we were met with this. 80% prostate cancer patients report late for treatment. 80%.
Yeah,
and if you look at the statistics,
on prostate cancer.
Yes. And if you look at the statistics and the numbers that, whether prostate cancer or whatever, once you're checking yourself, if you find it early, your chances of survival are up there, probably above 90%. Once you wait and it gets to a certain point, your chances of survival are almost negligible.
All right, we have Justice calling us. Sorry, I didn't get where you were calling us
Akwetia?
from. Akwetia. All right, Justice, let's hear you, please.
Prestia.
Oh, Prestia.
All right, okay, all right, okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I just want to say one or two things on the NPP internal election. Yes. With regard to the top two, Baumia and Akompreko, the likelihood of Akompreko taking the lead is high.
Please,
who is the Akompreko person you have?
Kennedy Japan.
All right.
Okay, all right.
Yes, and we hope.
All right. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us, Justice.
Thank you very much.
All right. So I was just about to say that, I know that Kennedy Japan has been doing a lot of groundwork. He's been doing a lot of groundwork. And they've been trying to, as they say it, reach the grassroots, and so they think that that's how they can make it, to that point. But we see how it goes. Time always tells, right?
Oh no, November 4 will definitely come, and just as we did not expect what we saw in the superdelegates, I mean, everyone expected it to be a 1-2 situation, Alan or Dr. Bawumia, and Dr. Bawumia, Alan. Look at what happened. So, but interestingly, when I spoke to Musa Dangwa, he made mention of the fact that if you look at the survey, it paints the picture that maybe Alan should have stayed in the race, because a lot of those they are speaking to seem to sympathize with him. I'm talking of the party's delegates who will actually be voting come November 4. The 2,000 super delegates, those who voted, are just a drop in the bucket. It's like 1% of the 200,000 who will. So, but the deed is done.
All right, our next caller is Samson. Hello, Samson. Let's hear you, please.
I want to say something about the Congress.
Please go ahead.
Yeah. What I want to say is that the chance of Japan winning is so high. Yes, I'm saying this because the man is really doing the groundwork. Because those who are his supporters are just on the ground and they are not seen.
Right.
So they will be seen on the election day.
Okay, thank you for sharing your thoughts with us. Thank you very much. Like I said, time will tell, and that's all time will also permit us in terms of getting interaction with you. But before we go, Benjamin, you have a...
Well, happy birthday to Ms. Benita Nadanswa Dako of the Ghana School of Law, Makola campus. And the tag there, together to the bar. Okay.
All right.
Together
so I'm sure that's the code to know
happy
who this
to
is
you.
from. Right. All right. And
so right before, as we gear up to go, we're grateful that you've taken the time to join us this morning on the AM show. It's always a breath of fresh air having you join us all the way from 6 o'clock till the top of the hour. Of course, we'll be serving you Joy News Desk up next.
Yeah. But before we go, let me also just share with you that the Barredo Memorial Lecture for 2023 is coming tomorrow, Thursday, the 21st of September, and it will be delivered by economist and political risk analyst Dr. Theo Echampong. The theme is Beyond the Haircut, the prospects for investment and public finances in Ghana in the next decade. It will be live on Joy News and Joy 99.7 FM at 2 p.m. prompt. If you're not in a position to listen to Joy or what Joy News, can follow on our social media handles or platforms, Joy 99.7 FM and Joy News. The 2023 Barredo Memorial Lectures is brought to you by the Ghana Institute of Public Policy Options in partnership with the Multimedia Group. So tomorrow we'll be bringing you that.
Yes, and tomorrow we'll be on that beat.
Yeah.
Anyway,
right.
Let's do this.
So we have to say goodbye. Thank you so much for your company. God willing, we are back again tomorrow with another edition that puts you at the heart of every discussion we have. Take care.